All right. So, I want to make sure this is working. Yeah, there you go. So, I am going to be streaming a podcast editing workflow. I wanted to do this a while ago and I had to stop like halfway through. So, we're going to do this like I'm literally going to download all the files and just put this together for you. So, first things first, every podcast is a little different. People have different ways of sending me files and different ways of organizing things, and I am pretty much exclusively editing this one. I'm not producing it or deciding what's going to be in it. Though if I hear something weird, um, I'll usually say like, "Hey, I think this might sound better than what we have," which is all good. So first, like these come to me through Google Drive, and if you haven't tried to download a zip file from Google Drive before, it's really annoying. So you sometimes have to the way to download like a bunch of files like this from Google Drive is to actually open up an incognito window. I'll do that on another screen real quick. What happens if you don't is they'll just get stuck and they like won't actually download, and it's really annoying, and you have to download them all one at a time. So one sec. All right, there we go. Gotta do my two-factor. This takes a little while now, but better than not having it. There we are. Oh yeah, this is on another screen, so you can't even see it. Ha. There was somebody who had a couple questions in my comments on a video too. If they show up, I hope they show up because I wanted to answer some of the questions they had, because it was hard to understand what their questions actually were without seeing them. So here we go. I signed into an incognito browser using Firefox, and now if I download all these, the zipping will actually happen rather than just like sitting stuck on 0 for all eternity. It still takes a little while on Google Drive, which is really annoying. So that gives me time to do a little chit chat, hang out and wait. So this is a podcast that some friends of mine are making. There we go. Now it's going. They're trying to do it every other week. So usually I edit these over the weekends. And I'm going to be using, I have some iZotope plugins that I use for a lot of this stuff. I used to do it all with free plugins, but it's, the thing with free plugins is they're great, but after time, like the more expensive plugins that I have will do a lot of the things automatically that I need it to do. So you could do it with free plugins that emulate a lot of the stuff that you're going to see. But I think I ended up spending like $300 total on the plugins that I use, but I use them all the time, so it's kind of worth it. All right, here we go. Let us extract all of these. With millennials, so this is episode 3, Megan. All right, there it goes. Lovely, lovely. I'll take this folder. I'm going to put it into my oh, look at how impressive my big old unorganized folder is. Where did podcasts go? Oh, no, I don't do that for this. There we go. Episode 3. There we go. Actually, let me do, because we are going to have seasons eventually, so I should do this not just episodes, but S1E1. I find that getting the folder structure set up sooner rather than later is always a good call. There you go. So usually so this isn't going to be completely from scratch because I've done these before, so I know the structure of what I'm going to be working with a little bit. So I'm just going to go in and I'll actually make a template out of this time instead of doing it like this each time, because now I know I'm going to be working on more of these episodes, so I'm not just going to do the one and then then delete the template forever. But I recommend making a template if you're going to be working on the same show or with the same people over and over again. Makes things run a little quicker. So these are big old files, so it's going to take a little bit of time to load. Probably also because I'm running OBS at the same time. Who knows? You're going to see a couple things. With my setup, I use Spectral Peaks for podcast editing. Something I learned about from John Tidy on the Reaper blog, but I love it for editing podcasts, and I will show you why if these are loaded up. I think I've removed a lot of the ums from here, but essentially, like this is a good example. It'll show you like almost what syllables people are saying. If nothing else, you can tell that these are different. It's essentially highlighting the different frequency ranges of the sound that are most active. So this is a different syllable than this is a different syllable than this, or just different pitch. So it helps if you're removing ums because you can actually see where like the next word starts rather than having to listen through it to remove it. But okay, these are all loaded now. So to save a template in Reaper, I'm going to keep these themes because I don't want to have to go searching for them. We use the same theme music, but I'm going to delete all of this because this is also the intro, right? Let me check.
So Sarah, from your interview with Ben, what element of it would our listeners be?
Oh, let me turn off notifications while I'm on here. Okay, not do it for like the next couple minutes. All right. Whatever. We might just see Slack notifications pop up for a sec. But I think the intros are usually the same, so I'm going to cut those out too. And I'm doing some things here I'll explain because there's some really good shortcuts that I have set up. Made this a lot easier. And that's the biggest thing with Reaper starting off is the way it comes out of the box isn't how I like to use it. And I like to be able to customize things. I think it's great. So that's what I've done here. I'll tell you what those are once I make this template. So first things first, let's make a template out of this. So I think this is our...
This week, Sarah sits down with Ben Tapper.
That's another part
Ben
of the intro.
is an associate for resource...
There you go. Here is our... I should put my mixer down here too so you can see my plugin chains and stuff. I'm not used to working on one screen. Dock the mixer. There we go. So right now I'm going to turn all these plugins and stuff off because they're causing everything to be a little bit delayed. I don't need all that in my life right now. But we've got this. The theme music's fine. There's a sidechain running from the voiceover bus to the theme music. I guess, sorry, from here. Let me do this. That makes more sense. There you go. Now what I said is true. Running from the voiceover bus to the theme music so that this will duck whenever anybody's talking, and I don't have to deal with that too much later. So this is all good. I've got my plugins, and Reaper's templating will save everything that's in here. It'll also save these markers that I don't want. And then we should be good. So I'm just going to save as so I don't overwrite this. I think it's Control-Alt-Shift-S. Yeah, Control-Alt-Shift-S will save a new version. Now you can see up here at the top there's a little _1 where there wasn't before. So that's great. Then I'm going to go to Project Templates, File, Project Templates, and Save Project as Template. You can see I already have a few of them. And we're going to call this, I wish you could do folders in here. I don't think you can. I'm going to try it out and see. Waking up with Millennials template. I'll call it podcast template. Sometimes I forget what all my templates are for. Yeah, so you can't see folders in here, which is sad. That's all right, though. We're going to pull that out and do that. Oh, okay, whatever. I don't need to save it because I already moved it. So let's check that out. And now we've got WUWM podcast template down there at the bottom. So pretty cool. And now I'm going to do a new project, a new project from the template. There we go. So it loads all my plugins, you see. It thinks for a while, and then I have essentially what I just saved. Oh, I don't need this. And this should be cleared. So some of this stuff is hangovers, leftovers from other episodes. So I'm going to resave this right now so that it is just what I need. All right, there we go. Now I can hit save. I just do Control S. And if I save, I talk about this in one of my other videos with like how to set up Reaper the right way or something clickbaity. And I set up my project folders so that every time I go into them, there's always audio files, Reaper backups, and then renders once I make them. But then the project files here at the bottom. Inside audio files is all of the audio files I need, which now you can see. And backups are all my Reaper backups in there. So everything's in this one folder. Reaper tends to like spew them out wherever you do tell or don't tell it to go. So I like to try to set that up ahead of time. So here we go. Hit save. I'm going to go into the folder I want here. I'm just going to go inside of it right now and do create subdirectory. Sometimes I like to store other things inside of there if I have them. But we'll call this S1E3 Megan Gun. You know what? I should put their website up on the screen in case you want to check out the podcast. That would be a good way to promote them. Boo doo boo boo. Sorry, I gotta find the website. There is the podcast. But I need the website. Well, crap. Sorry, this is boring what I'm doing right now. I'll find it on Instagram. It's important. I got to support my friends' things if they're going to let me make make videos with it. What was it called? Man, I have a bad memory. Where is it? Now I've got the theme stuck in my head. This is good. There we go. Live in the Momentum. That's their website. We'll get to editing soon, I promise. /pod. There we go. That's what we were looking for. Okay, hold on. Let me put this up on the screen. Put it in a place where you can actually see it, maybe. Editing. Oh, I bet you can't see it yet. Okay, good. Weird. The size does not need to be that big. Let's use this font. Sorry, this is not what you were expecting to come see. .com/pod. All right, there we go. Now, where is this? Oh, there's the banner up there. Oh, that's not the font I wanted, but you know. Weird. Why can't I use that? It won't let me. All right, we can use that one though. And then we're gonna have it scroll. Sorry, I know this is not what everybody was expecting when they come to this. All right, that is way too fast. And can I give it a background color or no? All right, we're close. We're very, very close. Make it a little bit smaller. There we go. Okay. Over there. Beautiful. Okay, sorry that took a while. I want to support my friend's stuff. So that's the podcast there. We made our template so far. Before I dig in, I wanted to show you some of the shortcuts that I use. So a lot of my podcast editing for this project, at least, is going to be just removing ums and filler words, stuff like that. And so what I do a lot of times is I'll grab something like this and you'll see it just like disappear with one button, or it'll ripple delete like that, where it deletes and pulls everything in. And I want to show you how to get that set up really quickly because I'm going to point to this a lot. And this is at, I want to see what time this is at on the, like 17 minutes in. So 18 minutes in, I start to talk about whatever this is. All right, great. So a couple things you got to do. First, I go into options. I might not get this right on the first try because I haven't done it in a long time. Mouse modifiers, there it is. So options, preferences, and you scroll down a bit. This is under editing behavior, mouse modifiers. And this is one of the big things I encourage people to set up on Reaper the first time they start using it. If you go into mouse modifiers, should be in, is it track control panel? I thought it was called something else. Let's try it there. Nope, not that. Arrange view, there we go. So mouse modifiers, click the context menu up at the top and go to arrange view. And here's the key here. You want to be on right drag, and we want to set the default action to marquee select items. So you can double click on this here. Marquee select items and set time selection. I think it's usually just set on just select at first. But what this will do now, when we have that set up, if you drag, right drag, it'll make this little box as you're dragging it. You can see that the time selection is being updated as I drag it. But also, if you drag over something, it'll select it. If you drag over two things, it'll select both of them. And what that lets you do is start editing, like, so I can delete, I'll get to what I just did there, but I can delete things out of those two items and not the bottom one. I can delete things out of this item and not the bottom one, etc. This is just great for a lot of editing purposes. And again, it's something I got from John Tidy at Reaper Blog. I love that place, but good to set up. So once you get that right click drag set up, you can do a lot of cool stuff. And these two commands that I have set up, one is Z and one is X. And I wish I remember the blog post that I pulled this from. But they set up these custom actions. I'll show them to you here. It's two little things. So my Z, I just set to always delete. It'll turn ripple editing off. So even if ripple editing is on, it'll turn it off. And then it'll cut the items, tracks, envelopes, envelope points, depending on focus, within time selection, if any. What this means, it's a very long way of saying it'll cut the things in the time selection. So it's actually like copying them, but I don't use it like that. I just use it to delete them because I wonder if they have a delete items. Delete all points. Adaptive delete, what is that? So yeah, I was going to say at the point when I made this, they didn't have, yeah, it didn't do anything. Okay, so there we go. That's another way of doing it, is the Xenakis SWS extension adaptive delete. But this other one works just as well. So again, if you want to make a custom action, you can come into the actions menu. I use Shift ? But you can go to actions and show action list. And if you're in here, you can make a custom action by going to new action, new custom action. And if you wanted to build this out, you would essentially, well, I'm not going to build it out because I'd write over mine. I don't really want to. But so the actions you use there are set ripple editing off, and the order matters. Set ripple editing off, and then edit, cut items, tracks, envelope points, depending on focus, time selection, if any, smart cut. Maybe I'll put that in. So to always delete the highlighted items in a section or in the time selection, create a custom action that does the following. Set ripple editing off, edit, cut items, tracks, and envelope points, depending on focus, within time selection, if any. I think that's the last word in here. Smart cut. Okay, so that'll get you where it will just delete anything that's highlighted and in the time selection. Very helpful for removing like places where you don't want people to be talking. The other one is my dedicated ripple edit. And this will be good when I start removing ums and things like that. So if I go to the edit action here, you can see it's three things stacked. Select all items in current time selection, remove contents of time selection. This is weird. Select all items. Oh yeah, because it's going to get everything. Select all items in current time selection, remove contents of time selection, moving later items, and then crossfade adjacent items, move edges of adjacent items. So let me show you what that does. This is just set to X on my keyboard, like no shift or anything, just X. So let's say I wanted to get rid of this, but I wanted to keep like the timing of everything else. If I just hit X, it'll move everything back and ripple edit it, ripple delete the stuff up here as well. So even if I just select this and do it, it'll delete everything around it too. So you just got to be careful with that one. But this is really nice for, like I said, removing ums. We'll use it a lot. I use Z and X a lot while I'm editing stuff. So, okay, I think that's it. That's all for the, like, here's what I use. We'll dig into some of the plugins and stuff later. But so now I've got all these files. Let me find them again. I'm gonna, oh my God, what am I doing? Windows key E, there we go. Windows key E opens your Explorer, it's great. So we're gonna go in here. I could go into the project. Let me do that, let me do it the Reaper way. Go to View, Project Media. Sorry, not Project Media. Media Explorer, there we go. I gotta start using this more, because I can go right to the project directory that we made and see the audio files that are already in there, but then also, where did it go? There they are. I'm gonna drag all these. Can I drag them in there? I know if I can do that from the Media Explorer. I guess I can. So I'm just going to put them in audio files because that's where I eventually will want them. I don't know if it moves them or copies them though, so I guess it's just copying. So let's see if I can delete all these. Yeah. Yes, please recycle. Okay, great. So we got them all in there now. And now I think the way that Kristen sent these to me, it made sense when I looked over it briefly before I started this, but she gave me a Word doc that kind of laid out what she wanted the order to be, and they're all numbered in order, so that's very nice. I may have to go through and remove more ums. Thankfully, like Kristen and Sarah, who are putting these together, are going through and doing a round of editing first, so I don't have to do I don't have to like cut out sections and stuff. So they're deciding the layout and then send it to me to do polishing and mixing and all that stuff. All right, so ums with her last word at times. Yes, that's a struggle with podcasting sometimes. Intro at the beginning, all of this makes sense. There's 15 there, so that's good. Well, let me check. Great. February 2nd is the launch. That's fine. I got some time. All right, so what I usually do is I go through like a couple passes of these things, just so I can kind of hear the form of it, make sure there's no like glaring mistakes, or like any things that don't make sense, and then I go through and do the hard editing. So something with these ones, we're gonna put them all on this track. I don't get separate audio tracks for each person. I just get like everybody kind of on the same track. So I'm gonna go through and kind of cut out everybody, put them on their own track, so I can apply EQ to every individual person instead of giving everybody the same EQ, because everybody's voice is special. All right, so now all those are in there, and I just dragged those in and did put them on a single track so that they're all like this in sequence, and I can drop these and move them around. So let's see what this opening sounds like.
This week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn. She's a recruitment and outreach specialist at Purdue University in Indiana for the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources.
I hope that clicking isn't in the audio.
This week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn. This week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn.
Now that's my audio driver. One sec.
This week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn.
There we go. So those just have to refresh that when I'm streaming. Okay, so this is a similar format to what I had before. I'm kind of used to this. Yeah, so first, the steps we're going to go through here, I can type these into a text GDI, actually. So I'm going to put these up here just so like if somebody starts watching, you'll know what's going on. Instead of being like, where the hell are we? So here we go. Step one is going to be getting individual voices to their own tracks. Step two, we're going to denoise those voices. I use RX7 for that. There's ways you can do it in Reaper too. I used to use Reefer all the time. So I'll show you how to do that. If you don't want to spend $300. Let's see, what else is there? So after we denoise, I'm going to, actually, I guess in between here. Maybe I should not write numbers because I'm probably going to get these out of order. There we go. So next I'm going to normalize audio to -24 LUFS just to get everything kind of in the same loudness range before I start. denoise everything after that. Then we'll go through and check for, and remove ums. Order things. Okay, I'm putting multiple things in one line. So check order, put music in where needed, remove ums, and then final mastering steps. Okay, so let's put these up on screen. Something cool, if you haven't used it before, is if you do any streaming, OBS will let you. I'll move this off screen. Sorry, OBS will let you actually read a text file. So if I'm going to save this as Reaper text just on my computer somewhere. You can pull up a source on OBS that will, or Streamlabs, whatever you use, that will read from the file directly, which is pretty cool. Read from file. That's way too big. Hello. That's way too small. Hello. All right, I'm just gonna put in Arial. Where's a good place for this? Maybe down at the bottom. Give it a nice little background. A nice little background, sound like Bob Ross. All right, because at this point I'm not going to be messing around with anything on the bottom left of the screen too much. I'm actually going to get rid of this mixer for now because I don't need it. And we're just going to be looking at this. So this is good. So we're on step 1, getting the individual voices to their own tracks. So let's do that. And once again, so now I'm going to kind of dig into the editing process. I'm using spectral peaks for this. This is helpful. Like sometimes you could even see the different voices if everybody has very distinct voices. It's not necessarily the case with this one. But if you want to use spectral peaks in your editing, you can go to View and then Peaks Display Settings. And you can change this display mode to spectral peaks. You've also got spectrogram, spectrogram plus peaks, all this stuff. I use spectral peaks for podcast editing. I usually turn the, or not the display gain. Oh, interesting, there's a noise threshold. I'll usually play with this. That's what it was. I was playing with this to get the like S's to be blue because those are the ones I usually have to deal with most often. So there we go. Sweet. So let's start listening to this. We'll get everybody's voices to the right place. So I'm going to listen through really quick at a higher rate.
This week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn. She's a recruitment and outreach specialist at Purdue University in Indiana for the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources. This week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn. She's a recruitment and outreach and natural resources.
And I'm just going to kind of go through this quick and start making splits and moving people to these tracks that they're supposed to be in. And this is going to be Megan.
So Kristen, in your interview with Megan, what about your conversation with her do you think our listeners will be most intrigued by?
I think what's so interesting about talking to Megan, which is something that still blows my mind to this day, is that she's even doing this. I think what I love about Megan is that...
So this is Sarah, and then we have Kristen.
I think what's so interesting about talking to Megan, which is something that still blows my mind to this day, is that she's even doing this. I think what I love about Megan is that I never would have thought that she would have gone into a career like this and working in a... What I love about it is she knows everyone in her life is. That is, you don't see that. She is the only black woman in the room most of the time, or out of that she's working on, like the Familiar Faces Project. Women of color, people from marginalized groups, to join this field. Our listeners of this podcast will take away from it to explore different avenues and to allow your interests to really guide you and to let go of what some of those societal expectations are. Megan is truly a trailblazer in her field, and I applaud her. Let's dive into the interview with Megan.
Awesome. So that is all Kristen. So Sarah, all Kristen, and then...
Let's dive into the interview with Megan.
Sounds
so
like
let's
Kristen.
start with who you are, what you do, who are you?
Yeah, so I am Megan Gunn. Who am I? Yeah.
All right, so there's Megan. So we've got these three. The voices don't look very different with spectral peaks, so I'm going to have to probably listen through and make sure I get everything. But here we go.
So I am Megan Gunn. Who am I?
And I'm going to switch these to mono just so I can see. This is a good trick, too, if you don't know it. If you highlight an item, right-click, and do item settings, you can change the take channel mode to a different one. So I usually just use mono left. I've got it set to a shortcut now, so I can just do, I think it's Control-Alt-Shift-P, and we'll do that. But there, now I can actually see the peaks if I want to.
Yeah. So I am Megan Gunn. Who am I? That's a good question. I know, still trying to figure out ever evolving, I guess is the best term for city.
So this first time through, I'm really not listening for ums or anything. I'm just trying to get these people's voices to the right place, kind of speeding through.
Nature, going to schools and talking about natural resources, doing a whole lot of exposure really, and lots of, but you're actually physically doing the whole thing.
So with you going in and like working with students and recruiting kids to join your program, what sort of resources were available to you when you were younger?
And what I'm doing here is just splitting them using S, and then moving them to the other place.
So with you going in and like working with students and recruiting kids to join your program, what sort of resources were available to you when you were younger that sparked your interest in natural resources?
So I think as far as resources go, kind of like Michigan right there in North Virginia, with a huge resource, figuratively and literally. So I do remember going on summer school, like the science camps, instead of doing like the remedial classes, and we would go to Michigan, we would only on East Coast, so we would always be by the water. Just being outside was always. I saw recently a little Megan. I was like 4 years old, holding probably my first stage. I was like, that's. I didn't always like this type of stuff. I would raise and actually like not locked out, but I was also an athlete and I just didn't want to do dirty stuff. We ran track and field, not anyway. I was in track and field, I threw shot discus, and we ran for that, but I didn't like the dirty things. I didn't like.
This is a little bit of a tangent, but did you just like of getting your
That.
this is a little
All right, so I think Kristen comes back in here.
this is a little bit of a tangent, but did you just like of getting dirty?
Oh.
For me, it definitely was hair. For me,
so.
did that have anything to do with your hair? For me,
so.
For me, it definitely was. Where it's just like if I just got my hair done, it's like okay, wait, all this left to
Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably.
Okay.
At one point. Because when you get pressed, that's it. It will last as long as you're not sweating, you're not running. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably.
Okay.
At one point. Because when you get pressed, that's it. It will last as long as you're not sweating, you're not running. I thought about that.
Yeah, I just felt like when I was natural, the whole world just sort of opened up to me.
Yes.
I can be outside in the rain and not freak out. It's not
Mhm.
cool. So
Yeah, the relaxer helped. Because I mean,
the whole world just sort of opened up to me.
Yes.
I can be outside in the rain and not freak out. It's not
Mhm.
cool. So
yeah, the relaxer helped. Because I mean, I swam in
All
high
right,
school, so I didn't know very much
so
about that.
I'm
But
also going to move Megan up here because it's going to be Megan and Kristen mostly at this point.
I don't know about that.
yeah, I just felt like when I was natural, the whole world just sort of opened up to me.
All right, I gotta slow this one down because I think they're talking back and forth.
I don't think about that a lot. Lately.
Yeah, I just felt like when I went natural, the whole world just sort of opened up to me.
Yes.
I can be outside in the rain and not freak out.
Yes.
I can be outside in the rain and not freak out. This is
Mhm.
awesome. So
Yeah, the relaxer helped because I mean I swam in
Yeah.
high school and so I did.
All right, there we go. We'll speed things back up.
Yeah, the relaxer helped because I mean I swam in high school and so I didn't really have to worry too much about that. But yeah, I do think I felt a lot freer once I stopped having to worry about my hair just any type of moisture hit. Because it can be like you can go to a humid room and then the curls just.
Something else you can do for this, I'll show you this shortcut too. If you hit Shift and the bracket, you can set the beginning of the loop point. So I can set this and find the place where Megan stops
I do
talking.
think I felt a lot freer once I stopped having to worry about my hair just any type of moisture hit. Because it can be like you
I'll
can
show
go to a
you the
humid room
last
and then the curls just.
oh yeah, okay.
But yeah, now I worry about it. Now it's just now you look back and think before I walk through this space. I never thought about that. Okay, all right.
Okay, sorry.
Peter. Oh, now you look back and think before I walk through this space. I never thought about that. Okay, all right.
Okay,
sorry,
sorry.
Peter.
All right, who's talking there?
Yeah, before I walk through this space. So funny. I never thought about that. Okay. All right.
Okay, sorry.
Right hand.
There we go. All right, so then I can pull this down, and I'm just going to do it this way where I control and move. It's a little bit easier. So if you highlight an area and you hit control, you'll actually grab that little region. You can pull it out. This way I'm not cutting the original thing in case I want to fix timings or something later. Yeah, let's do it that way.
Okay, sorry.
Right hand.
Yeah. When you were in middle school and high school and you're going on these summer trips, did you ever picture yourself doing that long term at that time? Or was it just sort of something you did as a hobby?
Okay, so that was middle school, and had no like. You know, we were thinking about careers because that's what we had to do. Well, these are the people around me. I'm going to do these. I was pharmacist. I'm going to get a pharmacist. I had to take care of someone. My mom did a lot of things, so I wanted to do what she did. I guess what I'm doing right now. I do all things right now. I'm trying to show kids more opportunities so they can see things that are able to. I kind of blocked all that out. Upon graduating college, I wanted to go into forensic pathology, but I only wanted to do that because I watched a lot of CSI and a lot of crime shows. And I was like, oh, I can help save the world by doing some of this cool stuff. And at that point, I wasn't a person. I was like, sitting at work all day and talk to myself and like record all these things, and it'll be fine. But that is clearly not where I ended up. So my aunt died right as we were graduating, like right before graduation, May-ish. So that kind of just it's sparked a new path for me. And I didn't like the things that came along with being a forensic. So I was like, okay, what else can I do? And I was going to do. And so an advisor my freshman year had me write this list, all the things I wanted to do and the things I didn't want to do, outside, being in nature and being in water. He told me about this marine biology class. I took this marine biology class. It was the first semester. Take students down to his old dumping grounds and make it and I will never forget that trip. Especially like I had that moment. I was like, this is it, and I will never forget it. A big old circle when you grow, it's got lead around the edges. You pull it up and that's what you catch. And so I was not doing it right most of the time. It was like half a million and just not doing it all. It was just running. And I finally got open enough. Literally everything I can get involved in to get me on the path of marine biology. And so that was my goal. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I decided I did a research lab. I did a lot of research in undergrad. Originally as a biology major, like all we saw research doing was cleaning glass jars and cleaning equipment. I was like, I want to do that. And do a research project right. And I was looking at how different fish were impacted by different sediment loads. As humans too, right? The more pollution you put in the air, the harder it is to breathe and the harder it is to do anything. Because I was supposed to read on a research trip. I started being a teaching assistant for that marine biology I was able to get a teaching assistant with a research, went back there a few times, started off as a
Looking for the next Kristen
so,
moment.
The first time they helped me with it, and then the other times I turned up somebody, and then the last time I went, the students paid for it, that was a teaching assistant, so that was definitely a blessing. But it really changed what I was doing. I was helping graduate students with their research projects, learning more technique, figuring out what I was doing. I turned to Indianapolis Zoo, and that was a lot of fun. I worked with Hank, which I loved and hated. They're mean little birds. But then they also love you like dogs. They want to be your friend. And their face, like the front of their face.
It sounds like you like really hit. Oh,
Like,
okay.
they're cute. They get massive.
It sounds like you like really hit the ground running. The second you had sort of that epiphany when you were on your trip.
All right, there we go. So here's a Megan section. Kristen
It sounds
talks
like
a
you like
bit.
really hit the ground running. The second you had sort of that epiphany when you were on your trip.
And
Yeah. So thinking back in high school, do you think that there was anything that could have happened differently in your journey in order to sort of figure out that epiphany sooner on, or was it just a matter of experience?
I think that I should have gone and shadowed somebody more in high school. I should have gone to the backside of funeral home. We had a lot of deaths growing up, which is, I don't know why I thought I was going to do anything. I don't like it all. I had never seen that side of it, so I always encourage kids. And anybody that's wanting to do something, go and talk to people that are doing it, or go shadow them, which is you get to see that yourself. Had I had that experience in high school, I would have figured something out a little bit. I love those biology classes and anatomy, and I really love them. I really enjoy them, but I don't know why I didn't think that was, well, that was the part I'm doing the same thing in fish, just not people. People blood. Even my own blood, it makes me very sweet. About pass out every time, like,
And you're thinking about going into
listen, I wasn't at swing second.
Okay.
I developed this.
Yeah.
But like animals, fish,
Speedy
I don't know, I
laughs.
think about blood, like no issues.
a lot of people I want to say in high school. I don't know if those were the time period. I don't know.
You need proxy.
A lot of people I want to say.
All right, there's that. There's a Megan section. Now Kristen's up.
A lot of people I want to say in high school. I don't know if those were the time period. I don't know if it's just because yes, I was so big at the time. So many people wanted to go into forensics and wanted to like work at morgue. Like that was a big. I want to say at least 10 of my friends were thinking about going into forensics at the time. So I always wondered like pop culture had a.
I think
You
that
did
was
pop
culture.
Yeah.
That was around the same time. Purdue added not a major, but more classes on forensics during that time.
I think that was weird.
Pop culture.
Had a
I think
huge
Definitely.
influence. If it was just the time period, I don't know if it's the time. So many people wanted to go into forensics. That was a big. I want to say thinking about going into forensics at the time. So I almost wonder if like
I think
huge
definitely
influence on us
pop
then.
culture.
There we go.
Yeah.
That was around the same time Purdue added not a
major, but more classes on forensics.
During that time. So I mean, pop culture changed everything, right? Yeah. They definitely did. But high school Megan would not have seen this Megan do this. And even like I was friend Courtney, you know Courtney. Yes. I don't see you doing this. Like, I'm still doing it.
For our listeners, me and Sarah actually went to go visit Megan on Purdue's campus to get an idea of like what she does. And Sarah actually went to go visit Megan on Purdue's campus. For our listeners, me and Sarah actually went to go visit.
All right, so there's the last Megan section, and then
For our listeners, me and Sarah actually went to go visit Megan on Purdue's campus to get an idea of like what she does. And even while we were there and we were looking at all these cool fish and like seeing all the different animals and what her like life looks like, we're just like, I never in a million years would I have thought that. And I just think like, stories like that and journeys like that are so cool when it's the unexpected and it just really resonates with someone. I just think that's amazing.
And it's like, there's no way to really know in high school what you're going to do for the rest of your life, right? We don't have enough experiences at that point to definitively say, yeah, this is what I really want to do. We just don't.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, and it's a lot of you want to be loved, you want to be admired, you want to be comfortable in terms of your money, and those are the things that we're focused on as high school students.
We just don't.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, and it's a lot of
sorry, I can't tell if this is them switching back.
we just don't.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of I want to be a doctor.
We just don't.
yeah,
We just don't.
yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, and it's a lot of you want to be loved, you want to be admired, you want to be comfortable in terms of your money, and those are the things that we're focused on as high school students. But then on the other, which is really hard to sort of narrow like what interests are and figure out what it.
I also found a personality test as I was going through all of this stuff.
All right, back to Megan.
I also found a personality test as I was going through all of this stuff, and science was on the bottom of my list, and on the top of it was like being in the arts, like doing creative stuff like photography and working in an office, which
Completely agree. I think our interests at that age are shaped. Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Megan, here comes Kristen.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think our interests at that age are shaped by what we are allowed to have exposure to.
that's a good way to put it.
You know what I mean? Like, growing up, I played sports. I was in orchestra, and my parents love music, and my parents are both athletes. But musical theater, and I did really love science, and I never did. You only have so much access as a teenager to go out and figure out STEM. Okay, stop. Sarah, did you think that those personality or intelligence tests actually aided you in finding your path of interest?
No, I don't think that those tests really help guide. No,
Oh, Sarah's back. Okay, so now I got to start pulling Sarah in. We're going to grab these, throw them both in Kristen. This is another cool thing with that. If you select and hit Control, it'll grab from, even if it's two different items. Items are, if you're new to Reaper, items are just like what the waveforms are in. So if I'm clicking these two different items here, they're highlighting. So it'll grab from both of them if you highlight over and drag. So good stuff. All right, so now Sarah's back.
no, I don't think that those tests really help guide you unless you understand where your inherent interests lie.
So, if for sure my test told me that I should go in the direction
Of social work, you have to know yourself well enough to ask bigger questions than that. It's like, okay, why is this test thinking that I should go into social work? What ways then do I want to help people discover by actually your intelligence help you find your path of interest?
No, and I'm trying to figure out ways in which they could be better. But for me, I was and continue to be such a people pleaser that whenever I would go through these tests, I feel like, all right, what do my parents want me to do? What does my orchestra teacher want me to do? Like, and that is what I would always have that mindset of like how do people. I would say growing up, middle school, high school, it was I want to. That is what I wanted to be. The professor of music history, answer these questions, and they weren't always true for me. And I don't think a person has potential career fields for you to go with actually want to do that. If you don't, you have like an identity crisis because it's just like, well, the personalities. I discourage people from putting too much stock into. What's wonderful in this day and age is our access to something. Google it, look into it. There were more programs in high school where you could just your child to work day, but it needs to be like someone's child to work day.
You don't need the programs. A professional person.
Yes.
Call a professional person.
Yes.
It's okay for you. We need to know that you can just email. We don't even need the programs. We need.
All right, there we go. So this is Kristen. Back to Sarah.
We don't even need the programs. We need to know that you can just email a professional person.
Yes.
Call a
And
professional
once
person.
again, in case you're watching, also thanks for watching. But if you're just joining, I'm using this method where I use Shift and the bracket key, so the curly bracket, to set the beginning of a loop point, and then Shift plus the right bracket to mark the end of it if I want to move a section. And then hitting Control, clicking and dragging the item to drag it to the right track. Right now we're on step 1, getting all the individual voices to their own tracks.
We don't even need the programs. We need to know that you can just email a professional person.
Yes.
Call a professional person.
Yes.
It's okay for you as a teenager trying to figure out what you're gonna do the rest of your fucking life. It's okay for you to actually take that effort, and that effort is good. Like people like that. People
Yes.
will remember you, and that's like the beginning of you making connections. All we need to part of that again is going back to this idea of access. And if you're want to shadow someone with a particular job that you have industries, you should. And all we need to know is that also companies really like it when young people are interested. And you already have a shoe in to that company if you desire.
Now that we clear that up a little bit.
All right, there's that. Sarah.
Now that we cleared that up a little bit, let's jump back into the interview with Megan. So when you were transitioning into this new career path, in what ways did you feel supported, either by family or by the program that you were in? Like how did you feel supported during that time so that you knew that you were making a good decision for yourself?
So my parents have always been whatever you do will support you in it. So that was an easy stuff for them. My mom doesn't always understand what I'm doing still, but I will always bring them to where I am to show them what I'm doing. So when we were in orchestra, they would come to the contest. They came to Epcot when we were on that senior trip. They've always been a part of the things, even when they don't understand. So I always do what I can to show them. When I entered at the zoo, they came down to the zoo, I took them behind the scenes and explained everything. And maybe that, now that I think about it, maybe that shapes why I like talking to people about what I do, because I want my family to understand what it is I do. So I do my best to explain to them in a way that they can understand. Because a lot of things are right before I finish my internship and show them around there. So they get it sometimes on a surface level, sometimes see my sister's a chef. It's a lot easier for them. I've always had support from my family. And my sister, 4 hours to walk upstream with a boat. So that was a lot of fun. It was also a day. 4 hours to walk upstream with a boat. That is the time I learned that she is actually afraid of water, especially where she cannot see anything. But she was not very much help on that. Except for we have lots of videos where but I had no idea. I've known her my entire life. It's just odd. But yeah, so I didn't know. But she wanted to learn more about what I did, so she came on. And then as far as like support from the institution, I love my classes. For the most part, I love the classes that were related to genetics, not so much. Micro, these fish biology classes, love them, all of them. The semester where I focused during undergrad, like it was because I
Is this
enjoyed
Kristen?
I know that a lot of people don't have that experience in undergrad. I know that I'm one person. I have the support I needed to get to where I needed to be. I know that a lot of people don't have that experience in undergrad. Their students find their ways to the university so that they can get the support that they need.
So if you could give like a piece of wisdom to someone younger than you, I know you're working with students through Purdue, so I'm sure you're dishing out wisdom all the time. But if you could give them a piece of advice in terms of navigating your 20s, finding a career, what is something that you would want them to know?
Be patient. My career has actually fluctuated even in the last 7 years. And I know that I am the oddball in trying to start my career right after undergrad. I didn't have a period.
That you would want them to know.
Be patient. My career has actually fluctuated even in the last 7 years. And I know that I am the oddball in trying to start my career right after undergrad. I didn't have a period right after graduation where I was like, okay, so what's next? And I did this internship and it was like, okay, well, grad school, people say hella degrees. Can I say hella?
Yeah, right.
My mom has hella degrees and letters in her name. And I just, okay, my mom has that, so I guess that's what I should do. And she's like, oh, you should do that. But once I realized that's not, okay, well, I'm going to stop striving for that because that's not what I want. It's not even what I need or what I want to do. You don't need that for your dream job. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money if you don't need that for your job.
Yeah, that's so important. I feel like, especially when you get to like your mid-20s and you're thinking like, I need to do something a little bit more prestigious. I need to have those letters at the end of my name. I need that master's degree. I need a PhD in order for people to just know I'm smart. Which there's so many different avenues in order to sort of flex your intelligence in front of people if you need that. But going that are working against you and not working service to you, there's no point in doing that. But I do want to finish up our interview by asking you a question that we ask all of our guests. And that question is, what life do you dream of waking up to one day?
I want to wake up to a day where I go out and I can go to a place and see more people that look like me and be more comfortable in those places, specifically in outdoors, because everybody should be able to enjoy it. It's a wonderful place to be. It's not gross, it's not icky. Even if these kids don't go into these careers, just having more appreciation and more respect for the environment is only going to serve us all. It's another thing to be in the middle of nowhere. People are accountability. There's no repercussions. That makes me nervous. That makes me be in a place where people have no respect for only based on their perceived gender. Everybody is just trying to live their lives. And I don't understand why people don't understand. They don't respect that. Okay, so like growing up, the kids are our future. But these new age kids really are. They want a change. And if I can help be a part of that change, help show them new things, help show them the wonders of.
So Kristen, I'm gonna pull out one of yours.
All right. There is Megan. Oop, I just copied 2 things. Also, that trick with highlighting a region or highlighting an item and hitting Control and left click dragging. If you just want to copy an item really quick, you can just select the whole item and Control and left click drag. It'll copy the whole damn thing. So another fun Reaper trick. Let's get back into it.
So Kristen, I'm gonna pull out a quote of yours. In the interview with Megan, you said our interests are shaped by what we're allowed to have exposure to. I'm wondering if you were talking more about being guided more towards sports.
What I meant by that is we're greatly
How you pursue a future career.
So what I meant by that is we're greatly shaped by the society around us. We are only exposed to certain career paths. You're shaped by the people around you. Just limitations from being in the bubble of your own community. It's not. So what I meant by that is in a bubble and really explore our interests and do what resonates with us. My interests are different from my parents. My participations are allowing me to do. So whether or not be in tennis camps or volleyball camps, those were the things that we both agreed upon that I'm interested in. They were willing to make the time for that. And I remember to know some of the things that I like to do and to know you get outside of that bubble that you can
Only potentially from your family. It's a stepping out, not only
and explore those interests that you may have.
it's a stepping out, not only potentially from your family bubble, but from your geographical bubble, and maybe putting yourself somewhere else to have the opportunities and access to things that might not be accessible to you in the place where you grew up.
Exactly, access is a key
Alright.
element to that.
Megan talks about her mom having hella degrees, and she realized it's a stepping out, not only potentially from your family bubble, but from your geographical bubble, and maybe putting yourself somewhere else to have the opportunities and access to things that might not be accessible to you in the place where you grew up.
Exactly, access is a key element to that.
Megan talks about her mom having hella degrees, and she realized
Sarah.
that not only did pursuing letters after her name not suit her, but her career didn't require to pursue that level of education. That's something that I personally also feel really benefited me in terms of financial outcomes post-college, as well as within my industry, because my career also did not require me to have, though it was common that people, but I've not seen actually a big difference in the way that people are paid in the industry. If you are just wanting to work in education really gets you much further than the personality that works with the other people in the profession.
I am a healthcare systems educator for a hospital organization in the Midwest. And so what I do is I teach people how to use our record keeping system for the hospital. So for my position, I was actually, however, there's so many soft skills that I can still to the people that work there, I can learn in order to develop in the way that I want to.
A lot of people think that they, in this day and age, still need that flex and that credential, and it's just becoming like pretentious bullshit at this point. Like nobody needs that. Like there's so much free access to education. A lot of people think that they, in this day and age, still need that flex and that credential. Shouldn't pursue going to colleges or universities or anything like that. But you should be sure that you want to get that higher level of education and first pursue that interest on your own. And if you can't push yourself to do a free class, then it's probably not something that you're truly deeply interested in. Convince yourself that this is a good direction to go.
Okay, so Sarah, how do you determine the difference between a hobby and career? And like, how do you know the difference?
The clarifying thing between a hobby and a career was finding that balance between.
Okay, so Sarah, how do you determine the difference between a hobby and career? And like, how do you know the difference?
The clarifying thing between a hobby and a career. The clarifying thing.
Right there. Kristen, Sarah's after this. So hopefully this is making sense what I'm doing. Again, if somebody is starting to watch a little bit later, these files come to me all with the same people in them. So I got to split out the files so I can EQ them all the right to their own settings. So just copying things into their own track.
The clarifying thing between is finding that balance between the things that you're interested in and no, you want the freedom to do it when you want to do it and how you want to do it. That is a hobby. It can turn into a career, but that is that balance of things that mad at yourself for choosing that path and feeling like participating in that action on a daily basis and being told to offer that balance of using your talents and learning new skills you enjoy when how you want to do them. How will you wake up differently tomorrow?
The thing that I loved about interviewing Megan is how unapologetic she is about her choice of her career. As I have a tendency to try to assimilate, to tone down my voice, to change who I am in order to fit the environment. What I love about Megan, the thing that I loved about interviewing Megan is how unapologetic she is about her choice of her career. About Megan, I feel like I'm getting a little emotional about this, is how she is going out of her way and making it her mission to change the people who are a member of marginalized field that she's in. And the way in which I wake up differently tomorrow is the only Black woman. And I have a voice, a lot of people, and I showing my face, encouraging people to career in whatever their interest may be, the ones that are acceptable or tolerable by other people in the room. After listening to this interview, how will you wake up differently tomorrow?
When Megan actually talked about her mom having hella degrees, that really resonated with me because it seemed like Megan was so confident in her understanding that she didn't need to pursue something more than her interest. Like she pursued the level of education that she needed to have the job that she has, and she is not boastful about that. She's confident in where she's landed, and that notion that I think there's still aspects of doing in my personal life. I don't need to try to move forward and do things that are in line with my interests and just participate in the enjoyment of those interests. Someone's opinion and interpretation of you that didn't pursue that level of education.
Like the name of this item.
Their opinion doesn't matter. Like you can get there, you can do.
Yeah.
So empowering. That's so empowering.
Yeah.
That's so empowering. Well, that's that.
All right. That was Sarah.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan for joining us on our episode today.
That's so empowering. Well, that's that.
What happens here?
Well, that's that.
That's so empowering.
So here's Kristen and then
That's
Sarah. Get rid of that.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can follow
Project on Instagram
Or on Twitter @_project. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. Megan also has a website called The Familiar Faces Project.
You can follow Megan at the Familiar Faces Project on Instagram or on Twitter at _ You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's thefamiliarfacesproject.org. On this website, Megan links to different local programs that cater to minority communities. You can also follow Megan on Instagram at the Familiar Faces Project and also on Twitter at _TFFP. That's at _TFFP.
All right, I think I'm going to have to clean this section up just a little bit. Sounded like there was a little mistake in there. Let me check if that's noted here. No. We'll get that all fixed though. Okay, so now everybody's on their own individual tracks. I can delete all of this. Well, I could delete all of this, but I'm actually just going to put it up here in the trash track, just in case I need to access it at any point. I don't like to delete things until I know that I'm not going to need them anymore. Okay, so now we've got everybody on their own track. I'm just going to change, we'll set these all to random colors. There we go, just so I can tell who I'm working on. Although the colors, you know what, no, I'm not going to do that because the colors tend to mess with the spectral peak stuff. So now what I'm going to do, these two are already set. So I don't have to worry about them. I'm going to put them to mono as well. But what I need to do now is I'm going to highlight everything else except for those first couple things. And I want these all to be around the same loudness. They should be pretty close, but I just want to, you know, make sure. So I have this set to Control-Shift-L, but what this is an SWS extension. And if you don't have the SWS extensions, you gotta get them. They're beautiful. I guess they do them down to -23 LUFS. I did -24, whatever. Let's do -23. It's it's one different. But essentially, this is going to calculate. It's a better calculation than just like decibel for how we perceive loudness. There's more to it than that. Somebody's going to slap me in the face for being like, no, here's specifically what it is. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't care. I have a master's degree in music. Essentially, all we're doing here is getting things to relatively the same loudness before we start mixing or playing around with them. And I don't feel like going through every single one of these items and adjusting the volume down. It's not worth it for a 30-40 minute podcast where I'm going to have to be like listening intently to every single voice. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I did this wrong. See, this is what happens when I start talking. I just forget things. I'm going to select all these and then glue them with Control-Shift-G, or you can right-click. Well, once it's done, you can right-click. Then we're going to normalize loudness. I'll tell you why I'm doing that, though. So if I normalize each of these items to a specific loudness on their own, it would calculate just that item and change the loudness. And I want the general loudness, like calculated across the full track, to be at -23, not each individual item, because that can make things like jump drastically. So if somebody's like really quiet for one of them and then not really quiet for another, it'll normalize it so that they're like they're very loud in the quiet one. That's not necessarily what I want. So you can see now we're all glued together, and you can do that also if you right click and go to glue items within time selection. So you can see it's added this like empty space back in, and that's what we want for loudness. Is like I'm going to do Control-Shift-L. That's my shortcut. It's probably not on yours. You'll have to download the SWS extensions if you don't have them, and then you can use these. So I'm going to normalize all that. It's going to take a sec because this is a long thing, so it's going to calculate through the whole thing, then set the loudness up. And so this is the point where I'm going to go get some water, and I'll be back. All right, here we go. So there's usually like a bi-weekly debate in the Reaper blog community Facebook about whether you should normalize audio or not. And I don't really care. This saves me a shitload of time of having to go through and balance things. I usually can't use my my speakers because there's something, other people live here, so I don't really want to listen to this while other people are doing shit. So normalizing gets it down to a consistent level, if nothing else. We're almost done. There you go. So now what you can see is down at the bottom left corner of these items, it's adjusted this by 0.03 decibels, so the loudness is pretty close to negative 23. Same thing here, negative 0.2 decibels down, that's pretty close. But with Sarah's audio down here, it raised at 2.71 decibels. So it raised that a little bit, and that'll just make it nicer to mix. Though podcasts are usually fairly easy to mix, but I do want all the voices to sound similar. So, okay, what step are we at now? We've done this. We've done this. I guess we went to negative 23 this time. So now I'm going to denoise all this stuff. This is good. Like, I've been working with a lot of audio with people sending things in from their cell phones, things like that. And I've just found that denoising it tends to make things sound a little bit more uniform. And I guess I'm also going to deverb. So we'll denoise and deverb these. Lovely. Excuse me. So I use RX7 to do this. You can use Reefer in Reaper. It's a denoising plugin. I'll show you how to do it with Reefer, just so you can kind of get a sense for what it does. It's a really cool plugin I had no idea about for the longest time. So if you open up Reefer, to add effects, I'll talk through that. If you click up in this area here on the mixer window, or you click the effects button here on your track, I like to use this just because it gets you right there. I just type in what I'm looking for. REAFIR is Reefer. Double click and you've got it there. So once you're in here, it has different modes, and the mode we're looking for is subtract. And it's going to build a noise profile. So we're going to look for a section of this. Sometimes this is easier to do with, can I switch on spectral peaks from here? There we go. I don't really like the spectrogram on here.
Just in nature general.
Oh, well now it's very upset that I did that. Let me... Oh, it is very upset. All right, let me undo, see if that helps. Nope. Let's see, how can I reload my peaks? Oh no, what have I done? Let's see if I can reload peaks. There we go. Well, I learned something. Build missing peaks. We'll build the missing peaks. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this with Reefer, and then I'll do it with my expensive plugins because they work better. Reefer is great, but it doesn't, it's not as surgical as I'd like it to be. Sometimes it's very obvious that you have noise cancellation on. So if you find a section where there's not a lot of, like where it looks like there's only noise, like in between words or something, or while somebody's waiting to talk, you can open this up, Reefer, mode, subtract, and you're going to turn on automatically build noise profile. And what we want to do is loop this section. And ideally, if you get a longer noise profile, this is better, but since I usually just have to like pick it out of the middle somewhere, we'll do it this way. So once that's on, I have to enable all these. I'm just shift clicking on the effects to bypass them, which is a nice trick. Once that's on, I'm going to play this, and you'll see this red line is showing you the noise profile. You can play this for about 5-10 seconds or so. And uncheck this. This is important to uncheck this. And then when you listen back to the original,
what some of those societal expectations are.
I'll turn this off.
To really guide you and to let go.
You probably can't hear too much of a difference. It's not that extreme. Like the noise isn't that bad here.
To really guide you and to let go. To really guide you and to let go. To really guide you and to let go.
Yeah, it's a little bit tighter, but it's hard to hear the real difference. It's just very good when you have a lot of different people talking or a lot of different people playing an instrument. Makes it sound like they're all coming from the same place, which is nice. I'm going to take these into my other software, RX7, which is a great buy if you're going to be doing a lot of podcast editing. I think I have this set up where I can just Alt double click. Yeah. So I'm going to grab all these. Oh, what was it? Alt E. Oh man, I can't remember my my shortcut anymore. It was to open in external editor. Control Alt E. There we go. This will open all three of them. Control Alt E. No, I don't care about that. No, I don't care about that. Those are all the ones from the last session. Okay, great. So RX7. Welcome to RX7. You can see the whole spectrogram. I think I have it set up this way. I don't think it came like this. It like usually has the peak in the middle too, but I don't want to see all that. So I am looking for a section of just noise and no speaking. So there's a little bit of some sound in there, but I really want just the noise profile because it's going to detect everything that gets passed through it as something to remove. It's like this could be a good section right here because this is all just noise. There's no, you see there's nothing like going on. Nobody's coughing or anything like that. It's a pretty small segment, but RX7 does a decent job of picking that stuff up. So this looks like a good, well, not a great noise profile. Let me see if I can find something else. It's looking like some of the noise may have been like canceled out by Zoom or something. Here's a good one. Still not great. You know what? Maybe that first one was the best. There's just not a lot of noise here, which is a good thing. Nice job, Kristen. All right. Yeah, I do think there's some noise cancellation going on here from whatever this was recorded in, but that's okay. So I'm going to do this and get all the noise profiles from these individual things because they're all being recorded in different places. Why is this called Sarah Opening Glued? Oh, because they're all Sarah Opening Glued. Okay, so we're going to call this Kristen. We're going to call this Megan. We're going to call this Sarah. I'm going to put these back in so I just know which one's which. Doesn't really matter, I guess, but I want to know. Why is that giving me... Oh, because I didn't change the actual file name. Ah, yeah, the source name is different. All right, whatever. It doesn't really matter. So we are going to find a section with little to no noise. Here, this looks good. I just hit learn and then click out of that like highlighted area because if I render it in the highlighted area, it'll just do the highlighted area. I hit render. I'll go to the other ones and it'll render the other one while I'm working on this. Here's a good little zone. Same thing, click out, render. Go to the last one, find a little spot. Oop, 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 we're getting there, we're getting there. There's a good one. Cha-cha. Learn and render. Yeah, there's like a little bump here below 50, which I'm not sure what that's about. That'll get gone. Get out of here. Get out of here, noise. Oh, but I didn't actually do it. Did I do it the right way? Yeah. Okay, so those are all good. And then I'm also going to deverb a lot of these, and this makes a huge difference in my opinion. I guess you probably can't hear that. Actually, and RX7 has a lot of really great things you can do. There's some pretty granular, intense stuff you can do with correction. But yeah, oh baby, some really cool stuff, and just like kind of what are these called? Metering and visual things to look at. But I'm not going to talk all about RX7. I just think it's a very good software for repairing. It lives up to the hype. If you've got any other ones that you recommend, please let me know, because I do a lot of this like repair stuff and try to make it as quick as possible, as much as I can. But here we go. Let me switch my audio preferences to this so you can actually hear it. There we go.
My career also did not require me to have.
So there's a little bit of like just room reverb in there, and I'm going to get rid of that because everybody's is different and I want it to sound similar. So there's a good de-reverb here. You can do this with anything. It's really just like a lot of it is phase, inverting the polarity and then putting a compressor on one of them. I can't remember the exact like chain, but it's something you can do with any software. But this, what am I doing? Not preview, learn, there we go. RX7 does it pretty quickly. So you look at all the sound that went away.
My career also did not require me to have.
Versus this.
My career also did not require me to have.
Like it gets rid of so much of the background noise, and I love it. So we're going to render through that. This one usually takes a little bit longer. Same thing. I'm going to find a little segment.
You might want to shadow someone of a particular job that you don't have access to.
Why are those like the same?
Particular job that you don't have public transportation available. Should. And all we needed to know was that you could just ask someone. And she realized that not only did.
Hang on. I might need to cancel this one because I think I did the wrong part.
Gets you much further than having a
areas that you may want to against you and from my parents.
That not.
All right, so what is this? This is at like 32. I left Sarah in the wrong place. Let's get Sarah out of there.
Haven't seen that things that might not be accessible to you in the place where you grew up.
Exactly. Access is a key element to that.
Megan talks about her mom having hella degrees, and she realized that not only did pursuing letters after her name not suit her, but her career didn't require
hospital organization in the Midwest. I am a.
There we go. All right, so now I'm going to glue these again. Whew, glad I caught that. Wouldn't be too bad, but we don't want Sarah's EQ to sound like Kristen's EQ. That's EQE. All right, we're going to do all this again. All right, Control Alt E will open it in here. All right, sorry, you get to see this all over again. We'll grab this, spectral denoise. Go. We grab this. There's a good spot. Spectral denoise, go. Zoom in here. Ooh, there's a good spot. Nice. Learn it. Spectral denoise. go back to Megan's now, or whoever's this is. Can't really tell because the names are all weird.
I think that I should
is
have
Megan.
gone and shadowed somebody in a morgue in high school.
All right, let's look at that. I'm going to see if this does what I need it to.
I think that I should have gone and
Yep, that's right. Do the whole thing. Go de-reverb.
Access, and if you're
Whoa, that was highlighted too much stuff. Find a section where Sarah talks for a bit.
ask someone if you can
Yes.
shadow them. Also, companies really
All right.
by, and that was something that I needed to discover.
And we'll learn it. Render.
And that was something.
There we go. We'll render this whole thing now. And then Kristen's.
My interests are different.
That should be good. Oh yeah, it gets rid of a lot of the reverb there. And we'll render that. While this is going, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, so I will be back. I left this up. Oops. Here we go. All right, now all of that has been done. Actually, I guess we have done this now, so I'll put an X next to it. So here is what we're working on now. All right, so now that I've got all these done, what's cool about how RX7 is going to work as our external editor is I can just save these and they will export back to Reaper. So I've saved all these in place. I was in a destructive edit. Reaper's going to need to rebuild the peaks for it, because it's a new file. So we'll let it do that. All right, there we go. So now we have all this, and next step, what did I say? Check order, put music where needed. So I've got this sheet. I think this all works. All right, cool. So we've got music here at the beginning. Let me just make sure that all of this is still in the same place.
Good morning, afternoon, or night. Whenever you decide to roll out of bed, we're your hosts,
Kristen Hoyles.
and Sarah Yako.
And welcome to our podcast, Waking Up with Millennials.
This week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn. She's a recruitment and outreach specialist at Purdue University in Indiana for the
You know, I should turn the effects on for that, because
Good morning, afternoon, or night. Whenever you decide to roll out of bed, we're your hosts,
Kristen Hoyles.
and Sarah Yako.
And welcome to our podcast, Waking Up with Millennials.
why
This week,
is
Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn.
why is this not registering?
Good morning, afternoon, or night. Whenever you decide to roll out of bed,
Is it not going to 3 and 4? Oh, right, yeah, because I grabbed this and I didn't send it to the right. Teehee. There we go.
Good morning, afternoon, or night. Whenever you decide to roll out of bed, we're your hosts,
Doesn't have to be that
Kristen
extreme.
Hoyles.
and Sarah Yako.
And welcome to our podcast, Waking Up with Millennials.
This week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn. She's a recruitment and outreach specialist at Purdue University in Indiana for the Department of Forestry. Good morning, afternoon, or night. Whenever you decide to roll out of bed, we're your hosts.
All right, I'm going to get to the mixing and stuff later. You notice I don't have any of my effects turned on for pretty much anybody. So I just want to make sure this is all in the right order and that things make sense. There we go. I may go through and do all the ums at this point too. Actually, I'm going to go. Okay, so we'll go through and make sure that after the Megan interview, after cut, interests and exposure, there's music.
Who you are, like, still trying to figure it out. And that.
This
And now
may
I'm
be
like,
a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So, Kristen, I'm going to pull out a quote of yours.
Then I want to be a part of that.
So, Kristen, I'm going to pull out a quote of yours. In the
So what I meant by that is we are greatly shaped by the society around us. We are only exposed to certain career paths. You're
Okay, cool. So we're gonna put some music here after the interview.
And
I
I
see.
want to be a part of that.
So, Kristen, I'm going to
All right, so here's our first ripple edit showcase. I'm gonna make a little cutty cut right here. I'll highlight all of these things with my little right click and drag, and I'll just hit S, and it's gonna cut at the cursor. So S cuts all of that. So now I've got these two items that I can move freely if I left click and drag. But what I'm going to do is turn on ripple editing. I can double click this to make ripple editing enabled on all tracks, disable it, or do it for just the tracks that are selected. I want this for all tracks, just in case there's something that I didn't have here. I know there isn't right now, but just in case. Actually, I guess there is some stuff up here that if I needed to, I could you'll see these probably move. Yeah, so I could line those up again if I needed. So this is all good. Somebody's calling me from Muncie. Give me 1 second. Chicago? All right, there we go. Sorry for the delay there. Good friend of mine calling about wanting to switch into data as a career, so talking a little bit about that. Great. So where were we with this? I was inserting music right here as a transition. So we go through this interview portion.
Wonders of the world, then I want to be a part of that. I
We
want to be
should
a part of
throw
that.
in this little transition. Oops, looping is still on. What do we say? Like a 5-second transition?
Then I want to be a part of that.
We'll bring in this, we'll ripple edit all this stuff back.
So, Kristen, I'm going to pull out a quote of yours.
And let them start.
So, Kristen, I'm going to pull out a quote of yours.
Awesome. So let's listen to that.
The world, then I want to be a part of that.
So, Kristen, I'm going to pull out
Bring
a quote
this,
of yours.
tighten this up a little bit. It's kind of long.
The wonders of the world, then I want to be a part of that.
So, Kristen, I'm going to pull out a quote of yours. In the interview with Megan, you said, our
All
interest.
right, great. So there's that music transition. What else happens? Hobbies, who gives a fuck, Megan end, plug, Megan outro. Awesome. And then in the outro, I just put the music back on. I should repair this outro, though, because it sounded like there were some mistakes. So we're going to do some outro editing.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can follow Megan at the Familiar Faces Project on Instagram. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's the Familiar Faces. You can also follow Megan on Instagram at the Familiar Faces Project, and also on Twitter.
Okay, so this looks like a good place to start.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can follow Megan at the Familiar Faces Project on Instagram or on Twitter at _TFFP. Megan also has a website called the Familiar Faces Project. Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan.
All right, there we go. So this is good, and then I'll drag all this back.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's FP.
All right, we will
_TFFP.
And then, do we have a stock outro? I think we do. Let me pull up the last one, because I think that might be what she's referring to. Another nice thing about Reaper, you can... Oh, file could not be found. Let's find it. Why is there only been glued? That's not good. Weird. Well, those disappeared. That's really not good. I wonder if it was when I should be in audio files. Let me check my What the hell? What is happening? Alright, I don't know what's going on with this project. It is very messed up. Yeah, that one should only have that little bit, but this should be a full project. There we go, whatever. Strange. So Sarah and Kristen got booted from from this thing. Alright, let me check recycle bin. Maybe they got deleted. When did I delete this one? 24th. So, okay, we'll get that one back. This is all the stuff that I deleted from that last one. It's so weird. I haven't had files just go missing in a long time. Why is it opening as a sub-project too? Alright, sorry about this delay. I just don't want to have the outro be broken. Yeah, damn. They are gone. Must be because I did a save as. Oh, poop. I don't like it when that happens. Rarely happens. So I have Ben, but I don't have Kristen or Sarah. I don't know why this project file is hanging out in there. Yep. All right, well, I'm going to check what our outro was for this. All right. Let me pull this in to the other project. We'll grab the outro from here, because if it's the same one, then I don't really have to mess with it too much.
Purpose and meaning in their life is
Contribute to support our.
that sounds sexual.
It does sound sexual. Join us every other week for new episodes and.
All right, there we go. We'll use this as the outro from now on. That actually makes this really easy to have this the stock outro. So I'm actually going to save this and render this item as the outro. Selected media items. We're going to put this in its own folder. Wow, it does not save the locations I was in. Ease, clients, Sarah, there we go. We'll just call this assets. And outro. What's tricky is this one's already mastered and everything. That's all right. I don't need this secondary output for this. All right. Very weird, but this will do. All of those things are gone. Rest in peace, old files. You will be missed. We'll plop this in here.
Episodes and insights. Join us. Join us every other
Waking
week
Up
for new
with Millennials
episodes and
wants to thank
insights.
Megan Gunn for
In the
joining us in our
meantime, check
episode
out our
today.
blog or
You can
contribute
catch
to
up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's the familiar.
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime, check out our blog or contribute. Join us every other week.
or TFFP.
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights.
All right, the end is good. So now we can go through and do all the ums and stuff. Sorry about that delay there. I don't know where my files went. It must have been when I did save project as and made a new one that it just like got rid of all the audio. But that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, so I don't know. I'll figure it out. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and remove all these ums. And I still haven't added any of the effects back in. We're going to do that at the very end once I remove everything.
Good morning, afternoon, or night.
So the intro should be good.
Out of bed, we're your hosts.
Chris.
This week, Kristen sits down with
Megan Gunn. She's a recruit.
I usually go about 1.5 speed with this.
This week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn. She's a recruitment and outreach specialist at Purdue University in Indiana for the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources. So, Kristen, in your interview with Megan,
I'm going to go through each of these individually. Let me update my thing now. All right, so this is done. Now we're removing ums. Oob Ori. In progress. All right.
this week, Kristen sits down with Megan Gunn. She's a recruitment and outreach specialist at Purdue University in Indiana for the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources. So, Kristen, in your interview with
We'll
Megan,
get rid of this.
what about your conversation with her do you think our listeners will be most intrigued by?
I think what's so interesting about talking
So once I get done here, I'm just going to hit tab. It'll go to the next like place where things happen, which is nice. I can just skip over all this without having to scroll out and zoom around.
No, I don't think that those tests really help. No, I don't think that those tests really help guide you unless you understand where your inherent interests lie. So if for sure my tests told me that I go in a direction of social work, you have to know yourself well enough to ask bigger questions than that. It's like, okay, why is this test thinking that I should go into social work? Probably because I like dealing with people and I want to help people. But in what ways then do I want to help people? And it wasn't through the process of being a social worker. It was through the process of design. And that was something that I needed to discover by actually just going down several wrong paths before I went down the right one. What about you? Did you find
So I do like to cut out some of the silences in here. I think silence can be great when doing podcasts, but I want to keep things moving along. So usually if it's longer than a second, I'll cut it down.
by actually just going down several wrong paths before I went down the right one? What about you? Did you find that any of those tests, personality or intelligence?
All right,
helped
so
you?
there's our first.
What about you? Did you find that any of those tests?
This is an easy one. I just highlight it, and if you've been watching the whole time, you know that I have a shortcut set up that'll ripple delete everything for me. But I'll right-click, drag over the and I just hit X. And once again, if you are watching later, the X here is a dedicated ripple edit that I've created. It's from a blog post that I read a long time ago, and I wish I had the address, but I don't. So it's these three actions: select all items in current time selection, remove contents of time selection, moving later items, and then crossfade the adjacent selected items. There we go. You can create a custom action if you go to new action, new custom action, and you can just drag and drop any actions you want, stack them on top of each other. I love custom actions. You can see I have quite a few of them here at this point that do some fun things for me. Z and X are the ones I use a lot for podcast editing though. So here we go. Here's the I highlight it, right click and drag on my setup. I'll show you how to get to that again. Again, if you're just watching here. Mouse modifiers and speak through all of that. Options, preferences, then mouse modifiers in this window here. And you can go to arrange view and the default action, marquee, select items, and set time selection is what you'll want to click on. That'll let you emulate, it's like a Pro Tools behavior kind of that I really like. So there we go. The gone. That took 2 minutes to explain, but I'm not going to explain it anymore, so we'll move faster. Here we go.
That any of those tests, personality or intelligence, helped you find your path of interest?
No. And I'm trying to figure out ways in which
All right, we're just going to stick with Sarah.
That you can just email a professional person,
Yes.
call a professional person.
Yes.
It's okay for you as a that you can just email a professional, right? That you can just email a.
All right, where did that go?
We don't even need the programs. We need to know that you can just email a professional person,
Yes.
call a professional person.
Yes.
It's okay for you.
All right, so this got a little funky. Looks like I forgot to put that part in. Come on, me. So we're going to boost this to 2.71 like the other ones. I'm going to take this into RX7. And actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to glue it first so it saves a new version of it. Then take it to RX7. There we go. We're going to find some area where there's some noise. Yeah, it's too short. Well, I'll grab an area of noise from here, transfer it over to this one, and render that. There we go. And then I'll deverb it. That's good. Render all that. Yes, it's making a difference, and we'll save it. All right, so now it's back in there.
We don't even need the programs. We need to.
It looks like I just cut that off.
We don't even need the programs. We need to know that you can just email a professional person,
Yes.
call a professional person.
Yes.
It's okay for you as a teenager trying to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your fucking life. It's okay for you to actually take that effort, and that effort is good. Like, people like that. People
Yes.
will remember you, and that's like the beginning of you making connections. All we need to know is that it's okay to go ahead and take those bold steps to have those experiences in directions that you find of interest. Part of that, again, is going back to this idea of access. And if you're living sort of far out in the middle of nowhere, or you don't have public transportation available to you, and you don't have public transportation, you don't have, or you don't have public.
We'll take that out.
Or you don't have public transportation available to you, and you might want to shadow someone of a particular job that you don't have access to. That particular job that you don't particular job. One of a particular job that you don't have shadow someone of a particular job that you don't have access to.
Nice.
That's where programs are really helpful.
Yes.
But if you are in a location where you can reach out to different industries, you should. And all we needed to know was that
Yes.
you can just ask someone
Yes.
and shadow them. Also, companies really like it when young people are interested in their company, because they actually do keep tabs on you and are interested in seeing how you develop. And if you develop into a person of particular talent, you already have a shoe-in to that company if you decide through your experiences that that's a direction you want to go.
Now that we've cleared that up a little bit, let's jump back into the interview.
Excuse me. All right, next up. Want to make sure I didn't skip anything. Nope.
So, Kristen, I'm going to pull out a quote of yours. In the interview with Megan, you said, "Our interests are shaped by what we're allowed to have exposure to." I'm wondering if you were talking more about being guided more towards sports than towards music from your parents, or was your mention of allowed in relation to other things that place limitations on how you pursue a future career?
So what I
That
It's a
looks
stepping
good.
out, not only potentially from your family bubble, but from your geographical bubble.
interests that you may have
It's a stepping out,
and explore those interests that you may have.
it's a stepping out, not only potentially from
I'm going to put some space in between these two. And for here, I'm going to have to create a cut for all of these. Just because the ripple wouldn't move the top one along with it. And I want that to happen.
it's a stepping out, not only potentially from your family bubble, but from your geographical bubble, and maybe putting yourself somewhere else to have the opportunities and access to things that might
Big
opportunities and access to things that might not be accessible to you in the place where you grew up.
Exactly. Access is a key element to that.
Megan talks about her mom having hella degrees, and she realized that not only did pursuing letters after her name not suit her, but her career didn't require to pursue that level of education. That's something that I personally also feel greatly benefited me in terms of financial outcomes post-college, as well as within my industry, because my career also did not require me to have a master's degree or something that pushed me to have letters after my name. Though it was common that people, a master's degree or something that pushed me to have letters.
So what's nice with spectral peaks is after a while you start to notice that the uhs from certain people look the same.
Have a master's degree or something that pushed me to have letters after my name. Though it was common that people in the design industry did end up going to school to at least get a master's. But I've not seen actually a big difference in the way that people are paid or move up in the ladder, actually, based on your level of education within the industry. If you are just wanting to work in the industry, I haven't seen that your education really gets you much further than having a lot of experience or the type of personality that works with the other people in your office. How does that relate to your current profession?
I am a healthcare systems educator.
A lot of people think that they, in this day and age, still need that flex and that credential, and it's just becoming like pretentious bullshit at this point. Like nobody needs that. Like no one needs that. No, there's so much free access to education, and like by no means I think are either of us saying that people shouldn't pursue going to colleges or universities or anything like that. But you should be sure that you want to get that higher level of education and first pursue that interest on your own. And if you can't push yourself to do a free class, then it's probably not something that you're truly and deeply interested in, and you might want to reflect about the reasons that you're trying to convince yourself that this is a good direction to go.
Okay, so Sarah, how do you...
The clarifying thing between a hobby and a career was finding that balance between the things that you're interested in and knowing that if you're interested in doing something, do you want the freedom to do it when you want to do it and how you want to do it, or do you need to be pushed to do that thing? That is a hobby. It can turn into a career, but that is a long road ahead. A career couples that balance of things that interest you, but you won't get mad at yourself for choosing that path and feeling like the thing that you love is destroyed because you're now participating in that action on a daily basis and being told by other people that you have to do it and you have to do it a certain way. Careers offer that balance of using your talents and learning new skills and developing them into something more. And hobbies allow that freedom for you to do the things that you enjoy when and how you want to do them. How will you wake up differently tomorrow? When Megan actually talked about her
I think Kristen went through and removed some of the ums for me, so this is going pretty well so far. I've only had to remove like 3 or 4.
When Megan actually talked about her mom having hella degrees, that really resonated with me because it seemed like Megan was so confident in her understanding that she didn't need to pursue something more than her interest. Like she pursued the level of education that she needed to have the job that she has, and she is not boastful about that. She's confident in where she's landed, and she's doing really wonderful things with where she's landed. So the thing that for me that I'll take away from that notion that Megan brought to the table is that I think there's still aspects of what I'm doing in my personal life in which I'm pursuing things that are actually beyond what I need to pursue. Tomorrow I will wake up being a bit more humbled because I don't need to try.
Yeah, so this is a section where I'll cut a little bit of the pause out.
Because I don't need to try to prove anything to anyone else other than myself. And I don't even need to prove anything to myself. I just need to move forward and do things that are in line with my interests and just move forward and do things that are in line with my interests. And I just need to move forward and do things that are in line with my interests and just participate in the enjoyment of those interests. Someone's opinion and interpretation of you that you won't be successful because you didn't pursue that level of education. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Their opinion doesn't matter. Like you can get there, you cannot. It's up to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so empowering.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, this is going in the Kristen side.
Yeah.
That's so empowering. Up to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so empowering. That's that. That's that.
All right, then let's move these ones over. I'm going to ripple edit so I don't lose the timing at the end.
That's that. That's that.
It feels like...
That's that. That's that.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's the Familiar Face.
I think I want to put theme music under all of this.
FFP.
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights.
Man, I wish I knew where the outro went, because then I could expand the theme music on this. Let me check. So check my drive folder. See if the outro's in there. What was it called? Yeah, it must have just been one of these, in the folder here. Maybe Ben 3. Let me just see if it's in here.
Hey, if I could get rid of
And as long as I've known you,
Living in life. That
Join us every other week for
Yeah. All right, we're gonna rebuild the outro, because I really want to be able to add music if I need to.
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights.
TF.
Us every other week for new episodes and insights. Every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime, check out our blog. Special thanks to Eric Hybretter
That's me.
for a theme song and audio production. If you feel like you have a story to share, reach us at
Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Where do we reach you? Okay. So now I got that in. I can put in the theme music. I really got to start using the, there we go. The Media Explorer more. I just never do.
livethemomentum.com.
All right.
TFFP.
Join us every other week for
With Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org.
All right, we're going to need to expand this a little bit, it looks like. Or I can cut down some of the spaces in the outro.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's the familiar
Turning the loudness down on the theme.
facesproject.org. That's
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime,
All right, I do need to take this into RX7, though. Oh, not the whole thing. Not that either. I'm just pressing all the wrong shortcuts today. All right, there we go. Feel free, if you have any questions about what I'm doing, to go ahead and ask. I will answer them if I have an answer. All right, deverb it. All right, there we go. I could probably automate that whole process with like one button if I thought about it for a bit. All right, save the project, Control S, best shortcut.
join us every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime, check out our blog or contribute to support our mission at liveinthemomentum.com. Special thanks to Eric Hybretter for a theme song and audio production. If you feel like you have a story to share, reach us at info@liveinthemomentum.com.
Pull that one back a little bit. Let's see.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining
For a theme song and audio production. If you feel like you have a story to share, reach us at info@liveinthemomentum.com.
also on Twitter at
All right, so this will go at the very end. I thought I made a looping section of this too, and that's just like gone. Let me see if I have the loop actually. I bet I don't. No. Okay, we're gonna be better about it this time. We're actually gonna make the loop. So, working with theme music and stuff, I try to find some sort of looping point I can use if I need an extra couple seconds or so.
Join us every other week for new episodes.
We're gonna mute the voiceover. I think that'll work. So from here. So actually it'll be from here. I'll heal splits right here. Another great shortcut, if you just right click down at the bottom, heal splits, it'll repair those splits you made. So right here, this should be a perfect loop. Let's see. Oops. I made to move this split. So more fun shortcuts. If you highlight two items and you go to like the edge of one where you see your cursor starts to change, if you press shift, it'll move the crossfade. So I can move this split actually, which is really cool. All right, so I need... There we go. It's not a great cut. Might move it back a little bit further. Bam-ba-doo-doo. All right, so right there. Nice. Okay, so I can loop this. We're gonna save this now. As the theme loop. Yes, that's where I want it to be. Let's put it in the assets folder. All right, sweet. Now we got that. All right, so here's the beginning. We want the beginning to be like here.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's thefamiliarfacesproject.org. On this website, Megan links to different local programs that cater to minority communities.
Special thanks to Eric Hybretter. Join us every
You can also follow Megan on Instagram, project.org. On this website, Megan links to different local programs that cater to minority communities. You can also follow project.org. On this website, Megan links to different
Sorry, I'm going to clean up this. I'm going to clean this up.
project.org. On this website, Megan links to different
Is there anything cut after that? No.
Megan links to
Oh my God, turn off the loop.
to different local links to different local programs that cater to minority communities. You can also follow Megan on Instagram, programs that cater to minority communities.
Awesome. This is very easy actually because there's enough spaces in between for me to make those cuts and slips.
Communities to minority communities. Minority communities. You can also follow Megan on Instagram at the Familiar Faces Project and also on Twitter at _TFFP. That's at _TFFP.
All right, that's good.
Join us every other week for new.
Then we can pull Sarah's back.
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime, check out our blog or contribute
All right,
to
let's see if
support
this
our mission
long
at
crossfade works.
liveinthemomentum.com. Special thanks to Eric Hybretter for our theme song and audio production. If you feel like you have a story to share, reach us at info@liveinthemomentum.com.
Almost worked.
Story to share, reach us at info@liveinthemomentum.com.
All right, I think that's good.
Special
Let me
thanks
listen
to
again.
Eric Hybretter for our theme song and audio production. If you feel like you have a story to share, reach us at info@liveinthemomentum.com.
Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so now I went through Sarah's. I put in the theme music. I'm going to go through everybody else's and remove ums. So part 2. Megan.
Yeah. So I am Megan Gunn. Who am I? Whew, that's a good question. I don't know. Yeah. I am Megan Gunn. Who am I? Whew, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm like, still trying to figure it out. Ever evolving, I guess, is the best term.
All right, I'm going to speed this up so we can get through it in hyper speed.
Is the best term to use right now. Always growing. I work at a university. I work at Purdue University as a recruitment and outreach specialist in our Department of Forestry and Natural Resources. And so what that entails is a whole bunch of getting kids excited about nature, going into schools and talking about natural resources and doing hands-on activities, telling them about careers in natural resources and how they can get to those careers through our program, but just a whole lot of exposure really, and lots of hands-on things because you don't know what's going to spark your interest until you do it. Somebody talking to you is one thing, but you actually physically doing it is a whole other thing. So I think as far as resources go, having Lake Michigan right there in Northwest Indiana was a huge resource figure to go. Having Lake Michigan right there in Northwest Indiana, having Lake Michigan right there in Northwest Indiana was a huge resource.
All right, I'm going to pull the H from here.
Huge resource.
So the H over here doesn't really sound like it's starting, like it looks like it sounds like it was cut a little bit. So here's another thing with Reaper. If you hit Control-Shift-O, I hope this isn't a shortcut that I've started. It'll show you all the overlapping items. Sometimes it just like plops things on top. It doesn't crossfade them. So sometimes you have to go in here to like actually crossfade things the way you want them to go. Let's see how this looks.
Having Lake Michigan. 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 Having Lake Michigan right there. Having Lake Michigan.
Here.
Having Lake Michigan. Having Lake Michigan. Having Lake Michigan. having like Michigan right there,
It does kind of sound like a snare drum hit, doesn't it?
having like Michigan right there. In having like Michigan right
That's
having like Michigan right there. Oh, having like Michigan right there in Northwest Indiana was a huge resource, figuratively and literally. So I do remember going on science field trips and doing science field trips.
all right. Same thing. I'm going to cut the S out here.
Science field.
Try to blend those together a little bit. So in this overlap mode, you can use all the same techniques I was using before. You can highlight specific items and stuff. It just makes it a lot easier to line things up on the same track.
Science field trips.
Yeah, look at that.
Science field trips and doing, what is the word I want? Summer school. Going on summer school like in the science, doing summer school. Going on summer school like in the science camps instead of doing summer school and doing summer school. Going on summer school like in the science camp.
Patch that one up.
And going on summer school like in the
There we go. Look at that.
trips and going on summer school like in the science
We'll remove the double and.
field trips and going on summer school like in the science camps instead of doing the remedial classes. I feel like that's a terrible word, but like having to retake classes, I didn't do that. I went on the science field trips and we would go to the dunes and we would go to Lake Michigan and we would do all this stuff, and that was a big part of it. But growing up, I had family on each coast, so we would always be by the water.
Just being outside was
Water, by the water. Just being outside was always my jam. My dad used to take us fishing or attempt to take us by the water. Just being outside was always my jam. My dad used to take us fishing or attempt to take us fishing when we were younger. And there's a picture that I saw recently. Just being outside was always my jam. My dad used to take us fishing or attempt to take us fishing when we were younger. And there's a picture that I saw recently of little Megan. I was probably like 4 years old, holding probably my first fish. I was like little Megan. I was probably like 4 years old. Little Megan. I was probably like 4 years old.
What happens there?
Little Megan. I was probably like 4 years old, holding probably little Megan. I was probably like 4 years old, holding probably my first fish.
That works.
I was like,
that's probably where it started.
But I just was like, that's probably where it started. But I didn't always like this type of stuff. I went through a phase, and I actually like not blocked it out, but kind of type of stuff. I went through a phase, and I actually like not blocked it out, but kind of forgot about it. I went through a phase, and I actually like not blocked it out, but kind of forgot about it. I went through a phase where I was like a girly girl. I was into cheerleading, but I was also an athlete, and I just didn't want to do dirty stuff. I mean, ran track and field. I want to do dirty stuff. I mean, ran track and field, not run. I didn't run. I was in track and field. I threw shot put and discus, and we didn't want to do dirty stuff. I mean, ran track and field, not run. I didn't run. I was in track and field. I threw shot put and discus, and we ran for that. But I didn't like the dirty things. I didn't like being outside anymore unless it was to do that.
This may be a little bit of a tangent, but
yeah, maybe, yeah, probably.
Okay.
At one point, because when you get it pressed, that's it. It will last as long as you're not sweating, you're not running under. I hadn't thought about that. I don't think about that a lot.
Yeah, I just felt like when I went natural, the whole world just sort of opened up to me.
I hadn't thought about that. I don't think about that a lot.
Yeah, I
hadn't thought about that. I don't think about that a lot.
Yeah, I just felt like when I went natural, the whole world.
Yeah, the relaxer helped because I swam in high school, and so I didn't really have to worry too much about that. But yes, I do think that I felt a lot freer once I stopped having to worry about my hair. But yes, I do think that I felt a lot freer once I stopped having to worry about my hair just once any type of moisture hit it. Because it can be like you can go through a humid room and then the curls will just. Whoop.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, now I don't worry about that. Now it's just now they look better than they did before I walked through this space. I never thought about that. Okay. All right.
Okay, sorry. Take it back.
I never thought about that. Okay. All right.
Okay, sorry.
We'll get rid of that.
I never thought about that.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so that was middle school, and I had no we were thinking about careers because that's what are you guys gonna do when you grow up?
Yeah.
Well, these are the people around me, and I'm going to do these things. My dad was a pharmacist, so I wanted to be a pharmacist. My cousin did hair, so I wanted to do hair. My mom did a lot of things, so I wanted to do what she did. I guess is what I'm doing right now. I do all the things right now. I'm trying to show kids more opportunities so that they can see things that are available to them. I kind of blocked all that out. Upon graduating college, I wanted to go into forensic pathology, but I only wanted to do that because I had watched a lot of CSI and a lot of crime shows and was like, oh, I can help save the world by doing some of this cool stuff. And at that point, I thought I wasn't a people person. So I'm like, I could be in a morgue all day and talk to myself and like record all these things and it'll be fine. But that is clearly not where I ended up. So my aunt died right as we were graduating, like right before graduation in May-ish.
I'm sorry,
I think.
I didn't know that.
So that kind of just, it sparked a new path for me. And I was like, oh, I actually don't like going into hospitals. I don't like death. I don't like weird smells, which is hospitals in general. I don't like sadness. I didn't like the things that came along with being a forensic pathologist. And so I was like, okay, well, what else can I do? And I was going to Purdue, was going pre-med. What else can I do? And well, what else can I do? Okay, well, what else? Okay, well, what else can I do? Okay, well, what else? Okay, well, what else? Okay, well, what else? And so I was like, what else can I do? And so I was like, what else can I do?
I missed that. Get out of here.
And so I was like, what else can I do? And so I was like, what else can I do? And I was going to Purdue, was going pre-med, and was like, huh, well, now is the time.
All right, let me listen to this to make sure it sounds okay.
And so I was like, what a pathologist? And so I was like, what pathologist? And so I was like, what else can I do?
And I was going to Purdue, was going pre-med.
And was like, huh, well, now is the time to figure out what the heck you want to do, girl. And so I had an advisor my freshman year that had me write this list of all the things that I wanted to do and the things that I didn't want to do. And on the top of my love to do list was being outside and being in nature and being in water. He told me about this marine biology class that they had in the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources. I took this marine biology class. It was the first semester this professor was teaching this course at Purdue, and he was from South Carolina, wanted to see if he can take students down to his old stomping grounds and make it like a part of the class. And so I was like, sign me up. And I will never forget that trip, especially like I had that moment that was like, this is it. And I'll never forget it. I was in baby blue waders. It was raining. We were using this thing called a cast net. And if it works properly, it'll open up in like a big old circle. When you throw it, it's got lead around the edge, lead weights around the edges, and it'll drop down. And anything that's in that middle section, you pull it up, and that's what you catch. And so I was not doing it right multiple times. It was like half mooning and just not mooning at all. It was just dropping. And I finally got it open enough to get like a little squid or a crab. I was like, this is what I want to do. And so after that, I went back to campus and did literally everything I can get involved in to get me on a path of marine biology. And so that was my goal after that. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I decided I wanted to do open ocean work. And so I joined a research lab. I did a lot of research during undergrad. And originally as a biology major, like all we saw research as being was cleaning. Originally as a biology major, like all we saw research as being was cleaning, like cleaning glass jars and cleaning equipment. I was like, I don't want to do that. And this was cleaning glass jars and cleaning equipment. I was like, I don't want to do that. And this was cleaning glass jars. Like all we saw research as being was cleaning glass jars and cleaning equipment. I was like, I don't want to do that. And this opportunity, like I started doing a research project right off that, and I was looking at how different fish were impacted by looking at how different fish were impacted by different sediment loads. But you could see like how different fish were impacted by different sediment loads. But you could see like their whole livelihood was changing. And that's humans too, right? The more pollution you put in the air, the harder it is to breathe and the harder it is to do anything because that impacts your whole body. But I did this research. I went to Costa Rica on a research trip. I started being a teaching assistant for that marine biology trip. Started being a teaching assistant.
Let's see. I think I can get this one to work.
Started being a teaching assistant for that marine biology trip.
And so we went back to South Carolina a few times.
That was a trip. And so we went back to South Carolina a few times. I was able to be a teaching assistant for the Costa Rica trip. Went back there a few times. What started off as I told my parents, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I need to go to Costa Rica. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I went 3 times. So the first time they helped me with it. And then the other 2 times I scrambled up some money. And then the last time I went, the students paid for it because I was a teaching assistant. So that was definitely a blessing. But it was like, it just completely changed what I was doing. I was helping graduate students with their research projects and learning more techniques and more skills and just figuring out what I wanted to do. I interned at Indianapolis Zoo, and that was a lot of fun. I worked with the penguins, which I loved and hated. They're mean little birds. They're very pokey. They're very sharp. But then they also love you like dogs do. Like they want to be your friend. And then the cow-nose rays.
What is that? I'm sorry. What is that?
Cow-nose rays.
Yeah.
They have a stingray.
Oh, okay.
And their face, like the front of their face, is like a cow's nose. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
They're cute. Mm-hmm. They can get massive.
It sounds like you like really hit the ground running.
I think that I should have gone and shadowed somebody in a morgue in high school. I should have gone to the backside of a funeral home. We had a lot of deaths growing up, which is, I don't know why I thought that was going to be the thing for me. I don't like it at all. Mm-hmm. I had never seen that side of it. So I always encourage kids and youth and anybody that I had never seen that side of it. So I always encourage kids and youth and anybody that's wanting to do something, go and talk to the people that are doing it, or go shadow them, which is even better because you get to see that yourself. Had I had that experience in high school, I would have figured something out a little bit sooner. I love those biology classes and anatomy, and I did really, really well in them. I really enjoyed them, but I don't know. I didn't think that was still part of it. I'm doing the same thing with fish and just not people. Like, people blood, even my own blood, it makes me very squeamish, and I about pass out every time I like prick a finger.
And you were thinking about going into
Listen, I wasn't as squeamish back then.
Okay.
I have developed this.
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah.
But like animals, fish, I have no problem. I could draw blood like that, like no issues on fish.
Yeah.
I can do dissections. I can do necropsies.
A lot of people, I want to say, in our high school,
I think
you
definitely pop culture.
Yeah.
That was around the same time Purdue added not a major, but more classes on forensics during that time. So I mean, pop culture shapes everything, right?
Yeah.
That definitely made a difference. But high school Megan would not have seen this Megan do this. And even like my best friend Courtney, so you know Courtney, she's like, I don't see you doing this. Like, I'm still doing it.
For our listeners, me and Sarah actually went to
And there's no way to really know in high school what you're going to do for the rest of your life, right? We don't have enough experiences at that point to definitively say, yeah, this is what I really want to do. We just don't.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's a lot of, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. And it's a lot of, you want to be loved, you want to be admired, you want...
Oop, left these two in at the same time.
So.
Yeah. I also found...
There we go.
I also found a personality test as I was going through all of this stuff, and science was on the bottom of my list, and on the top of it was like being in the arts, like doing creative stuff like photography and working in an office, which is all the complete opposite of what I do right now.
Yeah.
It's like, that really change. Your life changes as you have new experiences.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think
so my parents have always been whatever you do, we'll support you in it. So that was an easy sell for them. My mom doesn't always understand what I'm doing still, but I will always bring them to where I am to show them what I'm doing. So I mean, when we were in orchestra, they would come to the contest. They came to Epcot when we were on that senior trip. They've always been a part of the things, even when they don't understand. So I always do what I can to show them. When I interned at the zoo, they came down to the zoo and I took them behind the scenes and explained Epcot when we were on that senior trip. The contest. They came to Epcot when we were on that senior trip. We're in orchestra. They would come to the contest. They came to.
All right, I think I'm going to cut this part out because it's kind of referencing something that the interviewer and the interviewee. Oh, I guess I can say that Megan and Kristen. Know about, but I don't think the viewers know.
Contest. They came to contest. They've always been a part of the things, even when they don't understand. They would come to the contest. They've always been a part of the things, even when they don't understand. So I always do what I can to show them. When I interned at the zoo, they came down to the zoo and I took them behind the scenes and explained everything. And maybe that, now that I think about it, maybe that shapes why I like talking to people about what I do, because I want my family to understand what it is that I do. So I do my best to explain to them in a way that they can understand. Because a lot of the things I do sometimes goes over my head. But like taking them behind the scenes, when I was at Marine Laboratories in Florida, they came down there right before I finished my internship. They came down there right before I finished my internship and showed. They came down there right before I finished my internship and showed them around there so they could see the sharks and see the stingrays and see the things that I was doing. I brought them to the lab before they've seen all the things. So they get it sometimes on a surface level, sometimes on a deeper level. But so they get it sometimes on a surface level, sometimes all the things. So they get it sometimes on a surface level, sometimes on a deeper level. But they're like, okay, this is what Megan does. I think it's a lot easier. My sister's a chef. It's a lot easier for them to grasp that because food, right? But a lot easier. My sister's a chef. I think it's a lot easier. My sister's a chef. I think it's a lot easier. My sister's a chef. My sister's a chef. Yeah, my sister's a chef. Megan does. My sister's a chef. It's a lot for level, but they're like, okay, this is what Megan does. My sister's a chef. It's a lot easier for them to grasp that because food, right? My sister's a chef. It's a lot easier for them to grasp that.
Let me see if this works. I could leave that whole sentence in, but just tightens it up.
This is what Megan does. My sister's a chef. It's a lot easier for them to grasp that because food, right? Megan does. My sister's a chef. It's a lot easier for them to grasp that. Megan does. My sister's a chef. It's a lot easier for them to grasp that because food.
That
right?
works.
But the sciences are
Different. They're just different. I've always had support from my family, and even my sister one time went out in the field with me, and
nice.
so that was a lot of fun. It was also a day where the boat broke down, and so
okay,
4 hours to walk upstream with a boat.
Oh my God.
That is the time I learned that she is actually afraid of water, especially when she cannot see anything. So she was not very much help on that, except for we have lots of video footage and a lot of pictures from that day. But I had no idea, right? I've known her my entire life, and didn't know that she was afraid of water. She was a swimmer. Weird.
Yeah.
It's just odd, but yeah, and didn't know that she was afraid of water. She was a swimmer. We entire life and didn't know that she was afraid of water. She was a swimmer. Weird.
Oh, yeah.
It's just odd. But yeah, so I didn't know. But she wanted to learn more about what I did, so she came on this trip. And then as far as like support from the institution, I love my classes. Ugh. For the most part, I love the classes that were. I love my classes. Ugh. For the most part, I love the classes that were related to what I wanted to do. Right? Genetics, not so much. Micro, not so much. These right. Genetics, not so much. Micro, not so much. These fish biology classes, love so much. Micro, not so much. These fish biology classes, love them, all of them. The semester where I focused, these fish biology classes, love them, all of them. The semester where I focused on my fish minor, I got the best GPA of my entire undergrad career. Like it was, because I enjoyed all of it. It was a hard semester, but I enjoyed all of it. I had the support I needed to get to where I needed to be. I know that a lot of people don't have that experience in undergrad. I know that I'm only one person and I can only do what I can do, but I try to be that resource to help other students find their ways to the university so that they can get the support that they need.
So if you could give like a piece of wisdom to someone younger than you, and I know you're working with,
be patient. My career has actually fluctuated even in the last 7 years. And I know that I am the oddball and kind of started my career right after undergrad. I did have a period right after graduation where I was like, okay, so what's next? And I did this internship and it was like, okay, well, grad school? People say I should go to grad school. I guess I'll go to grad school. Didn't get into grad school. People were still pushing grad. And people like, the people around you, the professors. My mom's got hella degrees. Can I say hella?
yeah, you're fine.
My mom has hella degrees and letters in the back of her name. And I just, okay, my mom has that. So I guess hella degrees. Can I say hella?
Yeah, you're fine.
My mom has hella degrees and letters in the back of her name. And I just, okay, my mom has that. So can I say hella?
Yeah, you're fine.
My mom has hella degrees. Hella degrees. Can I say hella?
Yeah, you're fine.
My mom has hella degrees.
All right, we're going to take this part out.
My mom's got hella degrees.
That's the H there, I think.
Hella degrees. Hella degrees. My mom's got hella degrees and letters in the back of her name. And I just, okay, my mom has that. So I guess that's what I should do. And she's like, oh, hella degrees and letters in the back of her name. And I just, okay, my mom has that. So I guess that's what I should do. And she's like, oh, you should do that. But once I realized that that's not what Megan wanted, okay, well, I'm going to stop striving for that because that's not what I want. It's not even what I need for what I want to do. And so it really, and I try to explain that, like, you don't have to get a master's or a PhD if you don't need that for your dream job. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money if you don't need that for your job.
Yeah, that's so important.
I want to wake up to a day where I go out and I can go to a place and see more people that look like me and be more comfortable in those places, specifically in outdoors, because everybody should be able to enjoy it. It's a wonderful place to be. It's not gross. It's not icky. Even if these kids don't go into these careers, just having more appreciation and more respect for the environment is only going to serve us all better in the long run. It's one thing to look around in the classroom and see that nobody looks like you. It's another thing to be in the middle of nowhere. People are crazy. And there's no accountability. There's no repercussions. That makes me nervous. People are crazy. And there's no accountability. There's no repercussions. That makes me nervous. That makes me very nervous. To be in a place where people have no respect for other human beings, solely based on the color of their skin, solely based on their perceived gender. Everybody is just trying to live their lives. And I don't understand why people don't understand that, don't respect that. Okay, so like growing up, the kids are our future. But these new age kids really are. Like, they want a change. And if I can help be a part of that change, help show them new things, help show them the wonders of the world, then I want to be a part of that.
So Kristen, I'm going to pull out a quote of yours. In the interview with Megan, you said,
All right, so that is Megan's part. What's this?
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Dunn.
That should be up here.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Dunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's the familiar.
All right, cool. So Megan's done. We're going to go on to Kristen's part now. Last blast of the ums.
I think what's so interesting about talking to Megan, which is something that still blows my mind to this day, is that she's even doing this. I think what I love about Megan is that I never would have thought that she would have gone into a career like this and working in aquatic sciences.
So I've got one more shortcut I have set up actually is, I don't even know what it's called, but I just press F. Where is F? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a standard shortcut. But essentially,
and working in aquatic sciences.
if the play cursor goes off the screen, I can hit F,
everyone in her life is
and
like,
it'll
what, you do
go.
what now?
It'll go to it, so I can listen through this without having to scroll through. If I hear an I can just press F and go to it.
What's so interesting about talking to Megan, which is something that still blows my mind to this day, is that she's even doing this. I think what I love about Megan is that I never would have thought that she would have gone into a career like this and working in aquatic sciences, what I love about it is she knows everyone in her life is like, what I love about it is she knows everyone in her life is like, what, you do what now? Being a black woman in aquatic sciences, that is being a black woman in aquatic sciences, that is, you don't see that. She is being a black woman in aquatic.
Here, I'll keep this one because they're together.
Now, being a black woman in aquatic sciences, that is, you don't see that. She is the only black woman in the room most of the time or out in the field. And she is, with her projects that she's working on, like the Familiar Faces project, she is trying to recruit people of color, women of color, people from marginalized groups to join this field because it's has been so enriching for her own life. Viewers or listeners of this podcast will take away from it. To explore different avenues and to allow your interests to really guide you and to let go of what some of those societal expectations are. Megan is truly a trailblazer in her field, and I applaud her.
Let's dive into the interview with Megan.
So let's maybe start with who you are, what do you do, who are you?
Yeah, I am Megan Gunn. Who am I? Whew, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm like,
So with you going in and like working with students and recruiting kids to join your program, what sort of resources were available to you when you were younger that sparked your interest in natural resources and sparked your interest in nature in general?
So I think as far as resources,
this may be a little bit of a tangent.
1 sec. I'm gonna shoot Kristen a text.
This may be a little bit of a tangent, but did your dislike of getting dirty and doing anything that got you sweaty, did it have anything to do with your hair?
For me, so.
Mm-hmm. For me, it definitely was, where it was just like, if I just got my hair done, it's like, okay, avoid all physical activity.
Well, okay. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I just felt like when I went natural, the whole world just sort of opened up to me.
Yes.
I can be outside in the rain and not freak out. This is awesome. So.
Yeah, the relaxer helped.
Okay, sorry. To get back on track. So when you were in middle school and high school and you're going on these summer trips, did you ever picture yourself doing that long term at that time? Or was it just sort of something you did as a hobby?
Okay, so that was middle school. And I had no, we were thinking about careers because that's what.
It sounds like you really hit the ground running the second you had sort of that epiphany when you were on your trip.
I did.
Yeah. So thinking back in high school, do you think that there was anything that could have happened differently in your journey in order to sort of figure out that epiphany sooner on, or was it just a matter of experience?
I think that I should have gone.
It sounds like you really hit the ground running the second.
There we go.
A lot of people, I want to say, in our high school, I don't know if it was just the time period. I don't know if it's just because CSI was so big at the time. So many people wanted to go into forensics and wanted to work at a morgue. That was a big, I want to say at least 10 of my friends were thinking about wanted to work at a morgue. That was a big, I want to say at least 10 of my friends were thinking about going into forensics at the time. So I almost wonder if pop culture had
I think
huge
definitely pop culture.
For our listeners, me and Sarah actually went to go visit Megan on Purdue's campus to get an idea of what she does. And even while we were there and we were looking at all these cool fish and seeing all the different animals and what her life looks like, we're just seeing all the different animals and what her life looks like. We're just I knew looks like, we're just her life looks like, 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 her life looks like we're just her life looks like we're just her life looks like her life looks like we're just like
There we go.
her life looks like we're
Good.
life looks like we're just like I never would have never in a million years would I have thought that. And I just think stories like that and journeys like that are so cool when it's the unexpected and it just really resonates with someone. I just think that's amazing.
And there's like,
yeah, I agree. I think, you know, it's a lot of I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, and it's a lot of you want to be loved, you want to be admired, and it's a lot of you want to be loved, you want to be admired, you want and it's a lot of you want to be loved, you want to be admired, you want to be comfortable in terms of your money, to be comfortable in terms of your money, and those are the things that we're focusable in terms of your
This doesn't need to be as short of a pause.
want to be comfortable in terms of your money, and those are the things that we're and those are the things that we're focused on as and those are the things that we're and those are the things your money and those are the things that we're focused on as high school students. But then on the other hand, you also have those teachers that are just like, you can do whatever you put your mind to, which is really hard to sort of narrow like what our interests are and figure out what it is that we're going to do. So
I also found
I completely agree. I think our interests at that age are shaped by what we are allowed to have exposure to.
That's a good way to put it.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, growing up, I played sports. You know, growing up, I played sports. Like, you know, growing up, I played sports. I was in orchestra, and you know, my parents love music, and my parents are both athletes. But you know, thinking back on it, I was just like, my interest really lied in like musical theater, and I did really love science, and I never did any science programs in the summer because you know, you only have so much access as a teenager with no money. So it's really hard to go out and figure out what all of your without it being greatly influenced by teachers and by parents and by your support system. Okay, stop. Sarah, did you think that those personality or intelligence tests actually aided you in finding your path or interests?
No, I don't think that those tests.
No. And I'm trying to figure out ways in which they could be better. But for me, I was and continue to be such a people pleaser that whenever I would go through these tests, I feel like, all right, what do my parents want me to do? What does my orchestra teacher want me to do? Like, and that is what, like, I would always have that mindset of, like, how do people want me to answer these questions? And a lot of times I'll have the end result in mind of what I wanted to say. I would say growing up, middle school, high school, it was, I want to be a professor of music history. That was what I wanted to, that is what I wanted to be. And so I would go into it and think, all right, how would a professor of music history answer these questions? And they weren't always true for me. And I don't think, sure, a personality and intelligence test can maybe illuminate different areas that you may want to explore, but this idea that it sort of churns out these potential career fields for you to go in, it's just nonsense to me. I think it could sometimes push someone so far away from what they actually want to do that it can almost be disorienting. You have like an identity crisis because it's just like what the personality test told me I'm supposed to do. And so I discourage people from putting too much stock into tests like that. And I would just say, explore. What's wonderful in this day of age is our access to information. If you're interested, I would just say explore. What's wonderful in this day of age is our access to information. If you're just our access to.
So hopefully you're noticing like everybody's ums start to look similar, especially with the with the spectral peaks on. You can see this yellow pink is kind of Kristen's
In this day of age is our access to information. If you're interested in something,
so it makes it a little easier just to
it.
see where things are.
Megan makes a great suggestion of just job chat.
Yellow pink.
Megan makes a great suggestion. Megan makes a great suggestion of just job shadowing people. I wish that there were more great suggestion of just Megan makes a great suggestion. Megan makes a great suggestion of just job shadowing people. I wish that there were more programs in high school where you can just go and job shadow people. Like there needs to be like not just like a bring your child to work day, but it needs to be like bring someone's child to work day.
Right? We don't even need the programs.
Now that we've cleared that up a little bit, let's jump back into the interview with Megan.
So when you were transitioning into this new career path, in what ways did you feel supported, either by family or by the program that you were in? Like how did you feel supported during that time so that you knew that you were making a good decision for yourself?
So my parents have always been whatever you.
So if you could give like a piece of wisdom to someone younger than you. So if you could give like a piece of wisdom, if you could give like a piece of wisdom, give like a piece of wisdom, 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 like a piece of wisdom. A piece of wisdom. You could give a piece of wisdom. You could give a piece of wisdom. You could give a piece of. You could give a piece of wisdom. You could give a piece of. You could give a piece of wisdom. You could give a piece of wisdom. You could give a piece of. You could give a piece of wisdom to
Someone younger than you. And I know
give a piece of wisdom to someone younger than you. And I know you're working with students through Purdue, so I'm sure you're dishing out wisdom all the time. But if you could give them a piece of advice in terms of navigating your 20s, finding a career, what is something that you would want them to know?
Be patient.
Yeah, that's so important. I feel like, especially when you get to like your mid 20s and you're thinking like, I need to do something a little bit more prestigious. I need to have those letters at the end of my name. I need that master's degree. I need a PhD in order for people to just know I'm smart.
Mm-hmm.
Which there are so many different avenues in order to sort of flex your
Welcome to the
intelligence
stream,
and
those of you who just joined.
But going back to school for degrees that are working against you and not working in service to you, there's no that
We're at the point where we're getting rid of all the ums.
that
That person might have left.
against
Oh,
you
well.
and not working in service to you. There's no point in doing that. But I do want to finish up our interview by asking you a question that we ask all of our guests. And that question is, what life do you dream of waking up to one day?
I want to.
So what I meant by that is we are greatly shaped by the society
Hang on.
one day.
I want to.
This, I want to have a little bit more space. Let me see if this will work. That question like comes real quick.
Of waking up to one day.
I want to wake up to a day where I go.
Of waking up to one day.
I want to wake up to a day where I go out
There
and
we
I can
go.
go to a place and see more.
So what I meant by that is we are greatly shaped by the society around us. We are only exposed to certain career paths. You're shaped by the people around you. Just limitations from being in the bubble of your own community. It's not until we can get outside of that bubble and really explore our interests and question some of those interests that we can truly pursue what resonates with us. My interests are different from my parents. My participation in those interests are going to be dictated by what my parents
this
are
an
allowing me. My interests are different
No.
from by what my parents are allowing me to do. So whether or not they wanted to take me to orchestra rehearsals, which they did every Sunday, or if they wanted me to be in tennis camps or volleyball camps, those were the things that we both agreed upon that I'm interested in it, and they were willing to make the time for that. But I remember wanting to do musical theater, and my mom's just kind of like, what? And I remember, to no fault of their own, they would tell me, like, no, you're not really interested in that. And it had me second guessing some of the things that I like to do. And it's really to no fault of their own. It was more of them trying to guide me in the same ways in which they have been guided. So it's not until you can get outside of that bubble that you can truly experience and explore those interests that you may have. It's a step. Exactly. Access is a key element to that. Megan, I am a healthcare systems educator for a hospital organization in the Midwest. And so what I do is I teach people how to use our record keeping system for the hospital. So to use our record keeping system.
All right, so you just saw something right there. The new viewer here, thank you for thumbs upping the video, by the way. Something I do a lot in podcast editing is I have some custom actions that I use. One of them is just my X key has become a dedicated ripple edit. And if you've been watching for a while, sorry, I'm going to do this again because it's a really important thing that I like to show everybody. What this does is I've set this up where I can right click and drag, and it'll highlight things in this little box, but it'll also update the timeline, the time selection. If I press X, it'll just get rid of everything and move all the other stuff to the left after I deleted it. So really quickly, I want to show you how to set that up. First, you got to make sure your mouse does that thing. So you go to Options and Preferences, Mouse Modifiers, and you got to go down to under this context area here, go down to Arrange View, right drag over here. The default action, you want to set this, you could double click right here on Behavior where it says Marquee, Select Items and Time. Go to Marquee, Select Items, and click Set Time Selection as well. So it'll do both, it'll both select and do Set Time Selection. And this means instead of just like, it used to just make the time selection move without selecting items, but now I can select which items I want to do things to. So this action, it's a custom action. If you haven't used custom actions, they're great. You can essentially take any action in Reaper and make them happen in sequence. So what I've done here, and this goes for rescripts that you've made, this goes for extensions that you've downloaded. So I downloaded the SWS extensions for this one. But most of them are built in. I just select all the items in the current selection, remove the content of the time selection, moving the later items. This is like a ripple edit where everything moves, and then I crossfade everything. I've got another one in here that will just delete things straight up and leave a space. I just have that as Z. So we'll turn ripple editing off and then cut the items, track envelopes, whatever this is. Smart cut, if you type that in, you can find it. So now I can hit Z to get rid of it, leave a space. I can hit X to get rid of it and move it all together. So anyway, that's all.
Use our record keeping system. Use our record keeping system for the hospital. So
We'll listen
for
to this
my
at
position,
1.6
I was
speed,
actually overqualified.
so I
for my
can
position.
do this.
I have a bachelor's degree, and you only need an associate's degree in order to sit in this role. However, there's so many soft skills that I can still learn despite the fact that I have higher education. And to be honest, most of the people that work there, I can learn something from. And so I've deviated away from this idea that I have to have letters after my name in order to develop in the way that I want to.
A lot of people think that they, in this day,
Okay, so Sarah, how do you determine the difference between a hobby and career? And like, how do you know the difference?
the clarifying thing between a hobby and a career was finding that balance.
This is another
between
one.
The things that you're interested
This transition happens kind of quick.
in. The clarifying thing.
So I'm gonna ripple edit this, change my ripple edit up here in the top left corner to on for all tracks and move that just a little bit. So that what you'll see is this will not just move, oh, and I gotta cut this. There we go. It's not just gonna move the thing that's selected, it'll move everything to the other side of it. So we're gonna add a little bit of space there.
Difference.
The clarifying thing.
Difference.
The clarifying thing between a hobby and a career was finding that balance between the things that you're interested in and when and how you want to do them.
Okay, I already did the ums for Sarah. So
Like,
we're gonna
Megan
keep going.
is how unapologetic she is. Like, Megan is
How will you wake up differently tomorrow?
Megan is
Why did some of these get... There's some things just missing, so I'm glad I'm going back through this.
hiding
How will
away.
you wake up differently
I have to be out there, showing my face, encouraging people
Megan
to pursue
is
how
how
unapologetic a career in what about
All right, so this will be after Sarah asks how you'll wake up differently.
the thing that I loved.
How will you wake up differently tomorrow?
The thing that I loved about interviewing Megan is how
Yeah, that just somehow didn't get in there. Been sloppy today. Missing a lot of things, but at least they're all here. I left this up here. This is the original audio for that reason. In case I mess something up. I was going to say something else. In case I mess something up, I can come back in here and find it. So we're going to make this little edit. I'm just going to cut off this front part, and you'll get to see a quick version of what I usually do. So let's see. This is... I thought it was like negative 0.4 or something was the loudness adjustment. Oh God, where did it go? There it is.
Megan is how
It's not that bad though. So, okay, here's what I do. We're going to take this into RX7. I don't have RX8 yet. Not paying for the upgrade. I just bought this. Take this. I do some denoise just to get rid of all the extraneous sounds that are in here. Then I'll deverb it. Take a section, learn it, and deverb. So it makes it a little bit drier
a member of marginalized group,
versus this.
a member of marginalized group.
So you hear a lot less of the room noise, which I like for these because people have different sounding rooms. Then I can just hit save and it'll
The
save
thing
all
that I
that.
loved about interviewing Megan is how unapologetic she is about her choice in her career. As I have a tendency to try to assimilate, to tone down my voice, to change who I am in order to fit the environment. What I love about Megan, and I feel like I'm getting a little emotional about this, is how she is going out of her way and making it her mission to change the landscape of this career field so that more people like her, more people who are a member of marginalized groups, she is trying to create an environment and a space where everyone feels comfortable pursuing this wonderful field that she's in. And the way in which I will wake up and the way in which I
There's
will
an
wake up differently tomorrow.
Hit X and it's gone.
The way in which I will wake up differently tomorrow is recognizing and owning the fact that in a lot of these rooms, I'm the only Black woman. And I have a voice. I have a voice that will resonate with a lot of people. I have a voice that will resonate with a lot of people. And
Removed
I
another
can't
one.
just be in the background, hiding away. I have to be out there, showing my face, encouraging people to pursue a career in
There's another one. So here we go. Right click, drag, highlight, press X. Boom, it's gone. With those shortcuts, it makes it real quick.
a career in whatever their interest may be. I need to show up for my community, and I also need to represent all aspects of myself, not just the ones that are acceptable or tolerable by the other people in the room. After listening to this interview, how will you wake up differently tomorrow?
When Megan actually talked about her,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so empowering. That's that.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's thefamiliarfacesproject.org. On this website, Megan...
All right. I edited all that before. We had to do some cutting and pasting for the outro. So now we're all done with the ums. My eyes hurt from looking at all these Fruit Loop colors. So I'm going to switch this off. I was mentioning that spectral peaks are great for catching ums because you can start to see the sibilants and different, like you can see syllables and pitch here. So it'll show you like this is probably an S or a t sound.
And there, yeah. And there. And there.
Yeah. So it'll show you those kind of things. You can separate the from the other words around it much easier. A lot of times, like, I had to spend a lot of time trying to cut out just the rather than the word that came after it, but this makes it a lot easier to see. Also, you can see who's talking sometimes, which is nice, though that's not usually what I use it for, more so for finding split points in the words that I'm trying to cut. Let's update our Notepad doc so that people joining can see where we're at. So here we go. We're going to add an X. We've removed the ums. Goodbye, yellow brick ums. And now, this should say mixing and mastering steps. So I already have defaults for Karen and Sarah because they are the hosts, so I've used their voices before. But for Megan, I've got like a general preset, and these I'm going to be using paid plugins because over time I just got tired of tweaking the ones that come with Reaper. They are very good and they work, but the ones that actually I guess I had a plugin chain for. I can show you that plugin chain really quick. Let me put it on a new track so I don't mess this one up. Yeah, there we go. So my podcast mastering effects chain. This is all free plugins. Tri-Leveler is one that you can only get for PC, I believe. So unfortunately, that one, if you're a Mac user, sorry, you can't use it. But yeah, it was just I found these settings from a blog post that I have since forgotten where it was, but they went through kind of how to build out an effects chain. So it's an EQ with a lot of the middle cut out. You'll see that for like broadcasting and podcast stuff. That's usually what you want to go with. You highlight the lows and the highs of the voice. It makes it sound nice and warm. You don't get too much of the nasally sound. And then this will just go through, and as it's playing, it'll get a sense for how loud or soft the sound is, and it'll balance it out and level it over time. And the compressor is just, if you have used a compressor before, it's doing what compressors do. It's just even or compressing the dynamic level of the voice, so it's all kind of similar. And then there was ReXComp, which is a multiband compressor, and that's on here just to kind of quiet down. You can see it's kind of smashing down the sibilants, the D. It's making a DS kind of effect. So that was what I used to use. Yeah, feel free to steal those. I wish I had the blog post ready to go. I would share that with you because it was really good and it helped me out when I was first starting podcasts. But I've since moved to using iZotope plugins. I think they're very good. A lot, so like Neutron is their mixing one, and it kind of combines, here's my EQ shape. You see it looks pretty similar to the one I was using before. Then they have a built-in compressor. So I replaced the EQ and the compressor that I had before with Neutron. And the leveler now happens later. It happens over here instead of on each one of these. So here we go. We'll just add these on. We'll turn them all on and see what it sounds like. I had a little bit of reverb too since I took the reverb out of the rooms previously.
Good morning, afternoon, or night. Whenever you decide to roll out of bed, we're your hosts.
Kristen Hoyt.
Good morning,
So that versus
afternoon,
that.
or night. Whenever you decide to roll out of bed, we're your hosts.
Makes it sound a
Kristen
lot
Hoyles.
nicer, a lot smoother.
Kristen Hoyles.
And Sarah Yako.
And welcome to our podcast
This week, Kristen sits down
about talking to Megan, which is
All right, so
something
now we
that
just got to
still
hone
blows
in
my mind to
Megan's
this day.
EQ.
Is
Yeah. I am Megan Gunn. Who am I? Whew, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm like,
So last time we had a male voice, I don't want to do this. I can't remember if I actually tweaked anything on this or if I just left it, but I usually start with, they have like NPR vocals or something and NPR voice. Yeah, so I just started with that bass line. Usually I've got to bring the bass up a little bit with, I guess it's probably through Zoom or something. But yeah, I usually have to bring the bass up a little bit to make it sound more natural.
Yeah. I am Megan Gunn. Who am I? Whew, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm like, still trying to figure it out. Ever evolving, I guess, is the best term to use right now. Always growing. I work at a university. I work at Purdue University as a recruitment and outreach specialist in our Department of Forestry and Natural Resources.
That sounds pretty good.
But you actually physically doing it is a whole nother thing.
So let's A/B it.
But you actually physically doing it is a whole nother thing. Physically, because you don't know what's going to spark your interest until you do it. To spark talking at you is one thing, but you actually physically doing it is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, so things are sounding a little bit more even.
So,
This is nice.
With
Let's zoom forward. I want to listen to the very end and see how the music transitions sound.
Them new things, help show them the wonders of the world. Then I want to be a part of that.
So, Kristen, I'm going to pull out.
I also
a
wrote the
quote
theme
of yours.
music.
In the interview with Megan,
Yeah,
you said, our interests are shaped by what we're allowed to have exposure to.
All right, this is good.
Prove anything to myself. I just need to.
Yeah. That's so empowering.
That's that.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's thefamiliarfacesproject.org. On this
All right, so
website,
I'm gonna
Megan links
glue this
to different
together.
local.
I think this needs to be a little bit higher.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our. Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan. Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank
Oops,
Megan
this
Gunn
should-
for joining us on our episode today.
Shouldn't ripple edit that one. There we go. Yes.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with
Taking out that
Megan
little
at
hesitation.
thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's thefamiliarfacesproject.org. On this website, EFFP.
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime, check out our blog or contribute to support our mission at Live in the Momentum.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us
let
on our
me
episode
see.
today.
I really want to try to get this a little bit more consistent. I'm going to try throwing another compressor on it.
Project.org. On this website, Megan links to different local programs that cater to minority communities. Project.org. On this website, Megan links to different local programs that cater to minority communities. You can also follow Megan on Instagram at the Familiar Faces Project, and also on Twitter at
Sounds like,
underscore.
for some reason, it sounded like I didn't deverb it or something. Let me try that.
Different local programs that cater to.
Yeah, there's still like a lot of reverb in it, so okay, we'll do that.
Megan links. Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at the Familiar Faces Project, TFFP.
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime,
Yeah, then I'm still feeling like there's like a lot of mid in there.
And also on Twitter at _TFFP. That's at _ and also on Twitter.
There we go.
At
That's the sound I'm looking for.
TFFP. That's at _TFFP.
join us every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime, check out our blog or contribute to support our mission at liveinthemomentum.com.
Sarah's voice is pretty loud there compared to everything else. So we'll just adjust the loudness. There we go.
FFP.
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime, check out our blog or contribute to
FFP. That's @_TFFP.
Join us every other week for new episodes and insights. In the meantime, check out our blog or contribute to
Waking Up with Millennials wants to FFP. That's @_TFFP.
Join us every
So I guess I didn't really explain what I was doing there. There is a way, so each of these items can be considered a take as well. It's just an item that has one take if you're seeing it like this. If you go into the item properties, you can right click, go to item properties, or I've just gotten the shortcut as F2 now. If you go there, there's take effects as an option, and this will apply effects only to this take or this item within that full track. So you can add a little bit, like this one just seems to be like it was recorded after the fact, so it just sounds different than the rest. It needs a little bit different treatment. That's okay. So we'll do that with this one. And that's what take effects allow you to do. So there's take effects.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan.
That's so empowering.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's thefamiliarfacesproject.org. On this website, Megan links to different local programs that cater to minority communities. You can also follow Megan on Instagram at The Familiar Faces. Catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's thefamiliarfacesproject.org. Catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's thefamiliarfacesproject.org. On this website, Megan links to different local programs. Catch up with Megan at thefamiliarfacesproject.org. That's thefamiliarfacesproject.org. Catch up with Megan at the Familiar
All right,
Faces
that's feeling better. I'm going to crank the volume up a little bit on the item. I also like having, this is another thing I didn't explain, so sorry about that. This little knob at the top of the items. You can get there through preferences, and I think it's appearance. Appearance and maybe media. Yeah, there we go. So under, here we go, options, preferences, under appearance in this side panel, media, there's this option to have a volume button at the top left of each of these, which is really nice just for adjusting volume per item. So every item can have its own individual volume. And this is pre-fader volume too, so you can still adjust this overall down here, which is very nice. Easier to use than envelopes in my opinion, especially when you just need to raise the volume for a whole item.
Waking Up with Millennials wants to thank Megan Gunn for joining us on our episode today. You can catch up with Megan.
All right, let's pop on these mastering effects. Bring it up to volume.
At the Familiar Faces Project. And also on Twitter at _
interview with Megan. What about your conversation with her do you think our listeners will be most
cool. Sounding good. So the last couple steps for this I'll show you again in Neutron. It's just a mastering thing for dialogue. Just kind of taking out some of the nasty like middle frequencies and then raising some of the clarity in the voice. This will duck down, like you can do side chain, or not side chain, you can do I call them dynamic compression. What is it actually called? Yeah, it's called dynamic compressor, where it'll only activate if dynamic EQ. There we go. It'll only activate if it's above a certain threshold. Something cool, and it's easier to do here than it would be to do in Line and Reaper, which I do it for audio. I can show you. Then some multiband compression and just overall compressor. After that, I run it through Ozone. And I think I just ran the Master Assistant. Yeah, it like boosts the hell out of the low and high. I don't like that necessarily. Bring that down a little bit, but then it fixes all the EQ issues we have throughout and maximizes it. I bring the ceiling to -3 for podcasts. I can't remember where I heard that, but I think that's the standard is -3 dB for the ceiling. And then just max out the loudness with that.
I think what's so interesting about talking to Megan, which is something that still blows my mind to this day, is just is that she's even doing this. I think what I love about Megan is that I never would have thought that she would have gone into a career like this and working in aquatic sciences. What I love about it is she knows everyone in her life is like, what you do, what now?
All right,
Being
cool.
a Black woman in aquatic science.
So that's sounding clear. That's what we want for our podcast, clarity. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else with this before I ship it off. First, I'm going to save it. That's always good. Check the time. 10 o'clock. So this one took me probably 2.5 hours. I spent some time just like messing around and explaining stuff. But usually I can get I can usually get these podcasts done in about 2 hours, going through my whole process. Whether they're like 30 to 40 minutes, somewhere in there. It should take about 2 hours. What's nice is when you get these custom actions down, you can start just flying through these things and listening to them in like pretty much real time. And as we're going through, I'm also listening for like flow and format and making sure things make sense. And I think if you watch the whole thing, there were some points where I like had to remove like sentences and stuff because there was things that made sense to the people in the interview, but not to people who are outside of it. So I'll let Kristen and Sarah know I removed those, make sure they're cool with it, and then we'll post the podcast. So if you're into the podcast, you want to hear it actually all the way through instead of segmented and sped up like this, you can go to liveinthemomentum.com. They're trying to do a podcast episode every 2 weeks, and they are a lot of them are focused on career changes and career path and just kind of the things we wished we knew when we were younger that we didn't necessarily know. So it's a nice podcast. There's a lot of people from my hometown that are doing some cool stuff right now. So it's nice for me to listen to them as well because I get to catch up with people that I haven't talked to in a while. But that's podcast editing. Very fun. I really enjoy it. I like making things sound good for people. And my shoulders hurt. I think I'm going to go eat some ice cream and then go to bed because I have work tomorrow. But if you have any questions, leave a comment on this video, on any other ones. I usually try to get back to people. If you yell at me and say like horrible things, I don't really care. I just won't help you. So if that's what you need to yell at somebody about how bad Reaper is, then you go ahead and leave a comment. It'll help me out, but not necessarily going to help you. I do like helping people on Reaper though. So there's a lot of things that took me a long time in Reaper to understand and to get it to look the way that I want it to. So I'm sure I forgot to mention something that you saw here where you're like, well, how did he do that? Leave a comment, subscribe. I'll be doing more streams, and I will hopefully see you all soon. Thanks for watching.